Happy Tuesday night, everyone, and welcome to GameFace episode 150, a semi-milestone.
Yeah, it's a nice round number.
It is, absolutely. We have a great show for you guys tonight. We have several big games we're going to talk about, a couple smaller topics as well. Before we get started, I want to mention that we're going to be shooting a new round of Pactor Factor this weekend. Tomorrow you'll be able to find on the site and on our Patreon a place where you can ask questions. It is the last Pactor Factors for 2018.
Can the Switch make 15 million units up in time for March?
Someone might want to ask that.
He said at the beginning of the year, 8 million.
On
track for 8 million.
Yeah, it seems to be a hot topic. So yeah, feel free to ask whatever you want.
I don't know why everybody cares so much about how one of this company they don't have stock in is going to sell copies of this thing.
I don't either. But it'll be the last episodes of Pactor Factor for the year, so ask questions about Q4. You can ask questions about next year, because I think we'll have at least 1 or 2 episodes that we record on Saturday that will actually run next year. So it should be a good round of episodes. Obviously, tons of financial stuff coming up right now with it being Q4. This tends to be like the mile marker for the industry.
Speaking of which, did you break even on the shirts?
I did.
You're not,
We broke even. We did a flash sale on Black Friday. We took $5 off each shirt, and through that flash sale, we finally broke even on our t-shirts. So thank you very much to everyone who bought them. Don't stop buying them. Now's where we actually make a little bit of money, hopefully, on them. That would be nice. But we did break even on the shirts, which is great. I guess I should mention, so a lot of the sizes are starting to sell out. We're completely out of mediums. We have 1 small left across all 3 colors. There's 1. So if you wear a small, you've been waiting, you should probably get that last one before they're gone. We're not making more of these. So if you want it, you better grab it. I think XL, there's only like 3 left, something like that. Triple XL, there's like 1. So a lot of the sizes are getting down to it. So you've been waiting maybe to pick up a shirt. You should probably do it soon, or they're going to be gone in your size. But we have a great show. We have a lot to talk about, so let's just get straight to it. The biggest story of the week, undoubtedly, at least in my opinion, is something that just happened today. And that is that Red Dead Online went online for some people, not for everyone. In fact, as someone who got review code from Rockstar for the game, my code does not give me early access.
Yeah, it sounds like the review code was the special edition, which is also the one I bought because I didn't want to spend $20 extra on online stuff I didn't care about, so I also did not get to play the beta.
Yeah. It went up this morning at like 5:30 a.m. Eastern or something like that, and people who bought the most expensive version of the game got to play it today. And then throughout the week, they're rolling it out to more people. So I think tomorrow, everybody who bought it on launch day or played the game on launch day, and I don't even know if I did that, actually, now that I think about it. I had finished the game before launch day. So I don't know if I'll get in tomorrow either.
It should count it at any point.
I hope.
Before that, yeah.
I mean, that's what they said. They said if you played it on the day it came out, then you'll be able to get on tomorrow. And then they're slowly rolling it out. And then by Friday, every single person who owns the game will be able to play Red Dead Online. It's still technically a beta.
Yeah. And they've warned that it might reset.
Right. They did warn that.
Yeah.
So Matt and I have not played it, but I got a huge press release from Rockstar today that gave me all the details, and we're going to give you a great preview of this. I don't think it even matters if we've played it yet. I think we're going to be able to supply you with all the information you need to figure out whether you want to jump in. Who am I kidding? Everyone's going to jump in.
Yeah, if you have it, why not?
Yeah, but we have all the information on all the modes, how it all works, and we're going to share that with you today. I also want to give a special thanks to YouTube channel Game Riot, who did get in early and did publish footage, and we've used that footage for this section of the show. And there was a note at the beginning as well that thanked them, but I wanted to mention that. So let's talk about Red Dead Online. It was pretty much a complete mystery up until today, really.
Well, outside of that one leak that cost that outlet $1 million.
Right, yeah. Because some of that stuff
was right.
It was right. Yeah, it absolutely was right, which is why he got sued. Yes. You're not going to get sued for just saying stuff that isn't true. So,
well, that's a different suit.
Yeah. So we'll walk you through how it kind of works. So you start the game, and you kind of watched a little bit of this already. I'll catch up very quickly to what you're seeing on screen. You're in prison. They take you in a cart out of prison, and during the trip, which is where we are right now, some of your buddies basically break you out of the buggy the jail buggy, and you basically crew up with them. And you'll see in a minute here, once you crew up with them, you ride with them to a camp, and you have a separate camp. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that Red Dead Online is completely discrete from the single-player stuff. So you're basically starting all over with your character. So here you can see they're breaking you out. Eventually, you go to a camp. You have a camp where you set up. There are people there who give you your first mission, and then the first mission that you go on is actually pretty typical for Red Dead 2, but it's cooperative. So you basically form a posse, and you go on your first mission with your posse, and then once you complete that first mission, that's when everything kind of cracks open to you. And crack open does it ever. This mode is absolutely gigantic. I am shocked at how much is already in there. And Rockstar has already said that, this is going to be just like GTA Online, an evolving thing where there's just new stuff added to it all the time. So you start by creating a character, and again, you have to create a new character from the one that you were using in the main campaign, which may be a little weird.
It's not Arthur Morgan doing this, so.
Yeah, it's true. So once you get out in the wild, once you kind of go through the preliminary stuff, the morality system in Red Dead Online seems to have even more sway than it did in the main campaign. Your honor basically changes everything. So how you act when you're online will affect how the missions that you take on and how the missions play out. So one example that Rockstar gave was if your honor is good, then you will be assigned to defend a stagecoach as it travels from point A to point B. If your honor is bad, then you're assigned to rob that stagecoach, which creates this good guys, bad guys sort of dynamic, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I think it's something that Westworld gets really pretty much nails. That old school Western aesthetic of the bad guy in black and the good guy in the white hat. They're kind of carrying that through the entire online suite for Red Dead Online, which I think is pretty freaking cool.
Especially since it didn't have a lot of sway in the
It really didn't, yeah. And I'm sure
some discounts and stuff, but
yeah, I'm sure a lot of people like me finished the campaign and then either reloaded an old save and tried to get a different ending, or just went on YouTube and watched them. But no matter how you did it, ultimately you figured out that the morality system in the campaign really didn't change that much. Most of the scenes leading up to a final scene that I'm not going to spoil are all the same. And then there's one kind of extra scene depending on how you play the game at the end of the game. It appears that Red Dead Online is going to really take that morality system and run with it, which I think is a great idea. I always play the good guy in games. In fact, when I finished Red Dead Redemption 2, my good guy meter was all the way to the top, and I got an achievement for that as well. So generally, I always play the good guy when I play games. But after hearing how this handles, it sounds like being the bad guy might be more fun than being the good guy. I mean, a lot of it will depend on how they mix up the missions and the mission types and things like that. So let's start going through some of the modes. So free roam missions, I think is what you see first here. Basically, there are stranger icons located throughout the map, just like with the regular game. And if you head over to them, either by yourself or with your posse, you activate a free roam mission. And the free roam missions actually pull characters from the main campaign. So Rockstar says, be ready to see some familiar faces. But they, just like all the other stuff, how the missions play out vary based upon how noble or nefarious you are. The next option is called a Land of Opportunities. This is a deeper cooperative kind of option for 2 to 4 players, and they're multi-part series of missions that you play together with up to 3 other players. And again, it's another option where your honor will alter how parts of the mission play out and the different objectives that you're given. I don't know how that works when you're with a posse and you have 4 people there who may have all different honors. I don't know if they average them out and like say, okay, this is your posse's honor level. I honestly don't know. But they did say that the Land of Opportunities will change based upon honor, and that is up to 4 players cooperative. Then let's talk about the competitive modes. There's tons of horse racing in the game. There's point-to-point, there are lap races, and there are open races that are strewn all across the map. This Red Dead Online also opens up new areas of the map that you haven't explored before, and as you can see, this early stuff looks like it's part of that arid environment. If you remember on the map, it was like all the way to the southeast, I believe, on the map. So yeah, obviously new terrain. It's a lot more arid, a lot more desert, a lot more Mexico-ish than a lot of the stuff we experienced from the main campaign. Competitive modes other than horse racing. There are things called Showdown Series markers. And once you approach one of those, it will very quickly matchmake you with other players. And matchmaking apparently works across all the modes. They didn't go into the details of how you're matched with other players, but you don't have to have a posse of 3 real friends to play. It will match you up with other people. So the first mode we're going to talk about is called Shootout and Team Shootout, and that's basically just Team Deathmatch. They just renamed it. It's Team Deathmatch. Team Deathmatch, you're basically competing to get as many kills as possible before a timer runs out, so it's not a TDM where it says first team to 50 kills. It's here's the amount of time. You're going to play it till the end. Whichever team has the most kills when the clock runs out is the winner. There's one called Make It Count, and this is Red Dead's Battle Royale mode. And it has a twist. The twist is that in the Battle Royale mode, you can only use bows and knives. That's it. So there's no guns or anything else. It's very primitive weaponry. And like every Battle Royale mode, the objective is to be the last one standing. It's every man for himself. And then there's also a gradually shrinking player area as time goes on to force people together so that there's more conflict. So it sounds like a very generic Battle Royale mode. I think it has 32 players.
Yeah, 32.
Which is okay.
I imagine they might up that as time goes on.
It's possible. But I mean, this is the beta, and they don't want their servers to melt, basically, while they're testing all this stuff out. So they could boost it up. But a lot of that depends on the map. Like, if they've built the map from the beginning to be for 32 players, there's really not much you can do after that. So that's called Make It Count. Next up is Most Wanted. Can you guess what that is, Matt?
I'm going to guess that's asymmetrical multiplayer where one guy is being hunted by everybody else?
Kinda. Basically how it works is every kill pushes you up the leaderboard. And then when people kill you, they get more points depending on how high you are. So you're essentially, if you're playing well, you become a marked man that everyone goes after because they're going to get more points for killing you, which could be very interesting. It's probably one of the more interesting
I think that was in the
modes.
first one.
Was it?
I remember something like that in the first one. Yeah.
I played 0 Red Dead Redemption 1 online. I did not touch the online in that game.
I played a lot of it. I think I got most of the achievements. I played that with some of my friends before I played the single player, which turned out to be a bad idea because it was the same map, and so I was so familiar with everything when I started playing the single player that everything felt like review.
Right.
And like the fact that I couldn't go places was annoying. I think this is the better order to do that in. Especially also like they're putting it in new places that are not somewhere you're going to be intimately familiar with from playing the single player game. So that's a good call.
Yeah, we're seeing now the camp. So looks a little different than what you had in the main campaign. Definitely pared down a great deal. Not as much hustle and bustle, not as many people. I do not know if it expands as you play.
Yeah, I don't know.
Rockstar did not mention that. I mean, Rockstar did mention that you unlock gear and things like that, and there's currency there, that gold bars that you can use to pay for the cosmetics. And it does appear that only cosmetics are paid for with real money. We'll see. We've heard that before. Next up is Hostile Territory. It's basically their version of Control. You capture territory, you get points once you capture that area. The team with the most points at the end when the clock expires wins the match. It says you can win outright by capturing every territory, which seems a little weird.
Probably very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it happens a lot in other games that have that mode. I mean, I was just playing Battlefield 5 last night, and at pretty much every control game I was in, at one point we had all the points in the map. So
Yeah, well, these are much slower people.
yeah, I mean, it could change the strategy too, to where you're more apt to try to defend territories or watch the map to figure out which territories are taken instead of just going crazy and all willy-nilly.
Well, we certainly know Rockstar is now not afraid to try to make people play things differently than normal.
Yep, we learned that with the campaign, that's for sure. And then the last mode that they've announced so far is called Name Your Weapon. And basically it's a mode where the more obscure and weird the weapon is that you use, the more points you get for using it to kill. Which would encourage people to use weapons and armaments that maybe they wouldn't even consider using.
So they're basically trying to stop it from just being a game full of Lancaster repeaters.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because that's the best gun in the game.
It absolutely is, yeah. Without a doubt. And then this is a feature that wasn't in the main campaign. There's like a card system that you can use for buffs to your abilities. They didn't mention this a ton in the press release that they sent me this morning, so I don't know a lot of the details about the card stuff, but it sounds like a unique way to kind of work with an online mode. We don't really see that very often.
Sounds like what Microsoft is making people do for several years.
What do you mean?
Well, with the card system being like how you upgraded stuff in Forza and Tomb Raider and all that, like that was a Halo. Like the card thing is interesting. Like I wonder if that's part of the microtransaction scheme.
It's possible. I mean, Rockstar says no. Rockstar is saying that anything that has to do with your in-game abilities will not be able to be paid for with real money. But again,
they
we've
kind
heard
of
that
said
before.
that about GTA Online as well, and like I guess it's technically true, but being able to buy a fighter jet does impact my abilities to do things. I mean, we had people strafing us in fighter jets on a regular basis in that game, so like yes, technically I guess that's cosmetic, but it was also kind of annoying.
That's not cosmetic, though, a fighter jet.
No.
I mean, a fighter jet, that impacts gameplay big time.
It can.
Yeah,
at one point,
unless somebody sucks with it,
that's
they
the
should.
the one bit of money I did spend on that game was I went and when somebody was doing that, I went and I bought my own jet and just flew up, instead of stealing one from the base. I bought my own jet, flew up and shot him down, and just kept doing that until he went away. But in the meantime, Rockstar made like $50 off the two of us just because of that interaction.
So I think now that we know a lot about Red Dead Online for Red Dead Redemption 2, that we can start kind of comparing it to GTA Online. Rockstar did say in the press release that the world is live and there are other human players everywhere, and that's just part of what you have to deal with. That you could be in the middle of a mission, you could get ambushed by a bunch of other players. It does sound a little reminiscent of the early days with the ATM machines in Grand Theft Auto Online, which people hated, until people figured out that you could just basically send the money to your account with your cell phone.
Yeah, I was never clear if that was always there or if Rockstar added that.
I think it was always there. Yeah. I think it was just like people just didn't know it and freaked out about it.
Well, definitely the tooltip thing told you to put it in an ATM.
It did.
Yeah. So I can see where people got that idea.
Oh, it happened to me first few days. I would never take my money in because every time I go there'd be like 8 dudes hanging out by the ATM waiting to rob me, and I was just
like Philly.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Sadly, that is true. What other parts of GTA Online? I feel like you probably played GTA Online more than I did.
Yeah, I mean, I got 100%.
You did. Then you definitely played it more than I did.
I got a level 100. I got to level 100 on PS4.
Oh, okay. So what parts of that do you, one, think would be great if they move over to Red Dead Online, and what parts would you be nervous if they made the jump?
Well, I figured the obvious thing to move over is the heist thing.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense here.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbing banks and stagecoaches. And
I guess like the way the morality system works is the heists could be maybe they could be making them sort of two-sided. So like players are the ones guarding the bank or whatever.
I am not sure if that. I mean, I read you basically what was in the press release that they sent me. I'm not sure if they were saying that there's a good guy in the same mission and a bad guy in the same mission, or if you play a mission.
You're playing against NPCs one way or the other, but it just depends on what role you are.
I'm completely unclear on that. And it would be absolutely awesome if the bad guys were always human players and the good guys were always human players. That, to me, would be the trick. I mean, you could...
It seems like a logical next step.
It does, but it feels like if that were the case, there would be some kind of a struggle thing going on. Because there have been games in the past that have done that, where like you choose a side when you first start playing it online, and then there was a mech game. What was it that had that? Where you battled for territories, but you were a part of a bigger... Yeah, Chrome Hounds. And you would battle for like smaller territories, but ultimately it was this big, gigantic war going on between two sides. It would be awesome if that were the case, if it ultimately ends up being that. But I'm completely unsure. I do not know.
I don't know if that would work in a game where like you're supposed to have this amount of free roam control. Because Chrome Hounds worked because all you were doing was the fighting.
Yep.
But in this, you still have to leave room for players to sort of wander around and do their thing.
Yeah.
But I can see them populating like the heist missions with real people.
That would be amazing. Maybe make it too difficult too.
Maybe, but I mean, Rockstar is ambitious, and that would explain why those kinds of things are not yet in the game. Because it took them a long time to put the heists in. I mean, part of the reason they took them a long time to put the heists in GTA Online, because they had to cut them out of the single-player game.
Right.
I will believe that till I die. Those heists were supposed to be part of the single-player game, and they realized it was more lucrative to put them in the online.
Well, they also realized they didn't want to do story DLC. So.
Yeah, well, it's hand in hand with that. But it's like there's no other reason that game set you up with all that like stuff where you could like build your team and the team levels up, and there's like, and then they had you do it like 3 times.
Yeah.
And none of that ever mattered.
Yeah.
So it's like. That was a totally dangling gameplay system that they never followed up on. So I think that's what happened, and so I would expect the same thing to happen here.
Has Rockstar confirmed that there's going to be no story DLC for Red Dead 2?
I don't know, but I'm assuming there isn't.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, trading off this for story
the game's
DLC?
long enough as it is.
I know you're not a gigantic fan of the game,
No.
so I would like some more story DLC. But here's the thing, the way the Game Plus works, and have you finished it? Have you made it to the end? Okay. Well, the way the Game Plus works at the end of the game, I don't know that you really need story DLC because it continues on in a different way after you finish the game.
I mean, you could add like more weird things that happen to Arthur or whatever. There's certainly room, or you could do something along the lines of Undead Nightmare, which is a totally separate thing that was just batshit crazy, which I also support that. I mean, that was cool. I could do a totally separate standalone thing where aliens invade. Cowboys and aliens. Let's just do that. That'll be the expansion.
They did that already.
Yep. Well, they also did zombies, but who cares?
No, I mean there's a movie called Cowboys and Aliens, right? Yeah.
Based on a comic book. Horrible bomb.
Yeah. It wasn't very good. Was it Harrison Ford in that?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so. So what parts of GTA do you want to bring over? What did you really like about GTA Online? What kept you going until you got to that level 100?
The heists.
The heists.
That's it. It's the only thing I liked.
Really?
Yeah, those are the best part. And I like that because I played it a little bit when it came out, and it was stupid. It was just
I just had fun fiddling
sniping
around.
each other and doing stupid things, and we played around a bit. But it wasn't until the heist update when they'd really rebalanced things, added more to do, giving you some objectives to work with, populated the stuff you could buy to upgrade the clothing and the
all that stuff is coming too, by the way.
Like it wasn't worth playing to me until they'd really overhauled it a couple times over. And the heists were the best part. We all leveled up just doing those over and over, trying to get like the weird achievements or getting like the harder level stuff and all that kind of thing. Didn't spend a lot of time just doing the standard run around, do things. We did play a lot of the where you could design your own mini game or design your own mode.
That's what I did the most.
There was a one we played all the time. It was I don't remember if it had a name, but it was basically you had a giant floating platform, and one team was stood on the floating platform and had infinite rocket launchers, and the other team was on the ground and had infinite, like, super high-end cars. And there were these giant ramps. And the idea was the one team would get in the cars and drive out and drive up the ramps and try to do the jump off the ramp and hit the people on the floating platform and knock them off and kill them. And the people on the floating platform were trying to hit the cars with rockets before they could do that. And it was absolute chaos, and it was awesome. It was the best game, one of the best game modes I've ever played in my life. It was so stupid.
Yeah, one of my friends...
We played that for probably 100 hours.
One of my friends set up a mode where it was rocket launchers on ATVs. Mm-hmm. And that was it. That's all it was. Everyone had a rocket launcher. Everyone was on an ATV. And it was insanely stupid fun. we played it over and over again. And I think that's what I remember the most. Besides playing like the custom game modes, it was just setting up stunts and weird stuff and trying to do stuff. Stacking cars on top of each other to make like a ramp, and then use like a big truck to ramp off, and just messing around with it seemed to be where we had the most fun. Now with Red Dead, you don't really have the same tools to kind of mix it up.
You're definitely not going to be able to recreate my favorite game mode in it. Unless there's some things I really don't know about the horses.
Yeah, well, there's also no rocket launchers back in...
Yet.
Yeah, but back when this is set, there are no rocket launchers. And I felt like the game did an okay job of carrying itself without sort of advanced weaponry. But I think when you start talking about what the hook was in GTA Online, I think Red Dead might struggle to provide that.
There's an element of like getting away with things you're not supposed to get away with in GTA Online that doesn't feel like it would be like we spent so much time like trying to figure out a way to cleanly get into the Air Force base and steal a jet in like a regular, so like not in like just to do it, but to do it in a way that we could do it whenever we wanted.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have to buy one online. We probably spent 2 days figuring out a good way to do that. And I don't, what are you going to do in this game in that regard? Like try to steal a really nice horse? Like that's not a.
Well, if you watch the B-roll, you do get a horse pretty much right at the beginning, because the first mission
you get a scrawny nag. You don't get one of the nice.
Well, the first mission
Arabians.
you do, you steal a horse. That's like your very first mission that you complete. And when you take the horse back, it appears that it looks like you can just keep the horse you stole. I'm not 100% certain, but you do get a horse right at the beginning. But yeah, I question whether Red Dead has the tools to be as fun online as GTA was. I think it lets you maybe live out a fantasy a little more than you do in GTA, because GTA is kind of modern day, and it's just kind of you and modern technology.
It's certainly, I think Red Dead's a more interesting setting.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was getting at, basically.
It's just, and I don't know, rocket launchers, no rocket launchers isn't going to make me stay or leave. Like, it's going to be all about what they do with it and what they got me doing and what they have, what the consequences will be, what the upgrading curve is like, or if they give me a reason to care, like, or if it's just going to be a giant mess of people running around being idiots. Like, I don't know. Like, how well is everything going to sync? Is it going to be a thing where I'm like, oh, I shot that guy, no, you didn't? Like, I think you can already see in some of the footage of this, like, the sync isn't even good on your own allies. There's guys like, like there's a thing where a guy hits in some of the footage here, a horse.
He flies off the horse.
He flies off the horse, but he flies off the horse like 3 seconds after the horse goes down.
Yeah.
It's like, there's some, it's a beta in a very true sense of the word.
Yeah.
So it's going to depend how it all comes together. I'm not really all that interested in playing something this early and this rough, especially if they intend to reset the characters.
They said they may have to. That's not the plan.
Uh-huh.
I'm just telling you what they said.
Yeah, I know what they said, but that just means they're preparing people for when they have to do it.
Right.
I mean, that's if they wouldn't
Well, they're just
say
basically saying, well, when we do it now, you can't complain.
Exactly. And so, but I won't complain about it, but it's still annoying. So I'll just wait till you're done.
Okay.
Just like
that
I did
could be a while. If you think about GTA Online,
the heist were what, like a year later?
Yeah, it really didn't come into its own.
And that was after they'd already ported it to the next gen.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, I've played a lot of this game already. I'm not burning to play more of it really.
Do you not think that the online stuff though completely changes everything?
No.
Really?
Why would it?
Because it changes the dynamic. You're with other humans. They're unpredictable. They're not on scripted patterns.
Yeah, I don't see that as a plus, really.
Well, I mean, it just throws chaos into the mix.
Yeah, and I find that mostly annoying.
Oh.
So
I find that stuff fun. I like things that are unpredictable.
It's fun at first, but if you try, it's like the emergent stuff in the single player game. It's like it's fine if you're looking at it. It's like a cool thing that happened. But when you're actually trying to do something, it's just annoying.
And you have a cougar attacking you in the middle of a cinematic or whatever.
Except now the cougar is ripped bong 420 XXX, and
he has a shotgun. Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's just online. I mean, you're always going to deal with that no matter the game.
Well, the way I deal with that is not to play things online. So this isn't really all that interesting to me. I mean, it might be if I had a more regular online group that played, like I did back when the first one was out. But like, this is something I expect I will dabble in a couple of times, just see how it is, and never think about it again.
Even after you completely level maxed the last game.
Yeah, but that was because of the people I was playing with. I don't play with those people anymore.
No.
Like that's all gone. The world has moved on.
I mean, I'll be
the world doesn't want thieves like us around anymore. As though the world ever wants thieves. Like, I don't know. That was what?
That's a good point.
Like this.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm to the point where it doesn't really matter whether I play with people I know or not. I play online all the time, and playing with people I know, it's fun for the first like 10 minutes, but then after a while, it's like you might as well be playing with anybody because like you stop like communicating with each other after a while, and it's like I mean, we used to do that at GT. Like a big game would come in. We'd get copies for everybody, and we'd all go home. We'd be like, okay, at 8 o'clock, we're all getting online. Everyone's really excited about it. Everyone rushes home, eats dinner, gets online. We're sitting there where everyone's really jacked up and excited about it. The first 3 matches, everyone's communicating. They're over here. They're in the kitchen, or they're down in the basement, or whatever. And then after like the 3rd match, it's just silent. And so I don't know. Maybe your experience is different.
Yeah, mine was completely different.
But that happened with me at G4 as well when we worked together there. It's like you play the first few matches. It's like, okay, this is better than just playing with randos. And then after like the 3rd match, people are just dead silent, and it's like it doesn't really matter. Unless somebody's really good or really bad. And then you just don't want to play with them anymore if they're really bad. If they're really good, you follow the really good player around.
Yeah, the group I used to play with, like it was almost a chat room like environment. Like, we would
That's
be
the
up,
way it always
we'd
starts.
Be up, no, it was like that for hours and hours. We'd still be going 8 hours later. There were times we played a lot of Assassin's Creed online because we were trying to get achievements and stuff. But like there were times like we'd be up till 3, 4 in the morning just talking about shit. Like it was great.
There's the clip.
Yeah, that was the clip I was talking about. So yeah, my group we were all we didn't know each other in real life at all, but we'd only met online. But we we talked all the time about anything and everything. It was great.
It's like I don't even.
But all those people just got some of them got lives or had kids or went off and did other things and don't have the money or the time to do games anymore. And like it all dispersed and like. That's it. That's that.
Like, ever since I started using PlayStation 4 as my primary console instead of Xbox, it's like I don't even use a headset anymore. When I used to play on Xbox 360, I used a headset
Man, I don't even know where my headset is.
And I don't use it anymore on PS4, and it doesn't matter because no one else uses it either. So it's, even playing shooters like Battlefield or Call of Duty, I don't know. I don't even feel like voice chat. Like a lot of times people who know me through Sifted or through GT, I'm friends with them. They're on my friends list. I'll be playing something and sometimes they'll just pop into my game and I'll be like, oh, like, whoa, you're from Sifted and here you are. I didn't even know they were there. They could have been there for like 8 matches. I did not even know they were there. And sometimes they'll sometimes they'll be chat in games. They'll be able to they'll go, hey Shane, or they'll send me a message through like the message system on PlayStation Plus. But otherwise, a lot of times I don't even know that they're there. And I've changed a lot as far as my online gaming. Probably that's the most drastic change for me in online gaming for the last 5 years was moving over to the PlayStation ecosystem where nobody uses headsets. And so after a while, I didn't use a headset either. And I was just like, why? I'm just like whistling in the wind. Nobody cares. So to me, that part of it isn't as a big a deal as it is to you because I tend to play online games by myself all the time. I guess I've just got used to it or whatever. Or I'm just okay playing with randos.
Like without the social element, there's nothing about online that interests me really. It's just, especially with the way things have changed in the kind of the way that Call of Duty sort of changed things, where everything became like a giant experience point treadmill, which is meant to engage you and keep you attached to the thing, and it seems to work. But to me, it just makes me not care. And I enjoyed it early on when like Modern Warfare first did and stuff. But when I joined in like a Battlefield game or like a Battlefront or like anything like that, the main thing is like, well, like I don't really care if I'm better than any of these people. And in the end, it's like, well, it's more just sort of frustrating to see all these people that have all this leveled up gear and all this leveled up stuff that I know I'm never going to play the game long enough to get. So in the end, I just sort of play like 3 matches and stop. Yeah. And like, it's just, I don't want to dedicate that much of my life to grinding on an online game that I don't even care about who wins or loses in the first place. So what am I even doing?
That's really the core of it. Is either you're competitive or you're not. Either you care about getting better at something or you don't.
I do about some things, but not about video games like that. I mean, I care about fighting games like that. Yeah. But it's just a different thing. Like I don't care who can exploit the aim assist better. PC games I'm a little more interested in because there's not so much of that. But then PC games I've run into a lot of cheating, so it's just sort of that's also discouraging. Yeah. In the end, like games have especially since the dissolution of my online gaming group, it's just sort of games have become more about sort of like a single player escape thing than anything about. I'll play anybody in a
I
fighting
like
game.
both. Don't get me wrong.
I'll play
I
anybody in a
enjoy
fighting
escaping
game.
with a single player game as well as playing online.
This, it's just like, am I ever going to play this long enough to get anything of note or level up to anything of interest? And like by then what? There's just one more character. Like
That's funny because I'm completely opposite with that.
I just see
like,
this
I don't
system
care
so
about
much.
any of that stuff. I don't care about like leveling up and getting stuff. Like even with Black Ops 4, I had the gun that I wanted within 2 hours, and it was kitted out full. And I have not unlocked anything else because all I care about is how good I am, how competitive I am, and if I can get better playing the game. It's interesting though how this like that dichotomy of perspectives on playing online.
It's like I don't care. That's one of the reasons I care about fighting game stuff like that, but I don't care about something like this or like Call of Duty. Is like when I beat someone in a fighting game, I know why I beat them and I know how I beat them. And if I win like a shootout or whatever in this or in Call of Duty or whatever, I'm always wondering, like, well, did I win that because I was better, or did I win it because his system he has a slower connection, or did I win it because it looked different?
Fighting games are the same way.
Not when you're playing them together in the shoulder to
and
shoulder.
fighting games even more so. It's like
Not at
when
all.
you're talking about you were just talking last week about how like on a TV you couldn't pull off a move because it was 2 frames off.
Yeah, I'm talking about playing fighting games with another person sitting at the same monitor.
We're talking about playing online though. That's what the conversation's about.
Well, not even like people playing online with fighting games. I mean, it's called playing underwater in the fighting game community because it's always different. Basically, the assumption is you can't train to play in like a tournament effectively if you're playing online.
That's accurate.
Like because it's just too different. So yeah, with fighting games, I'm competitive in the sense of like being in the same room with somebody, like the arcade situation, because I can adjust to online, lag, but it's not the same. It's too weird.
And you're right. I mean, you're right. Any game you play online, there's a certain scapegoat that you have. It's like when I play Black Ops 4, because I will say this, Black Ops 4 has turned into my like dead time game. So I have it set up next to my workstation in my office, and if I have a spare 10 minutes while I'm waiting for something to render or whatever, I'll just play a match. And I'm getting pretty freaking good at Black Ops 4, by the way. My KD is up to like 1.6 something. And I've never seen that happen. I've never been this good at a Call of Duty.
Are you playing on the lagless monitor in the back room?
Yep, yeah. I'm playing.
I bet that's part
and
of it.
It's not going through any capture equipment. It's literally going out of my PS4 straight into an IPS monitor that only has 3 milliseconds of lag. And it's plugged straight in off of my router. And it is insane how much of a difference that makes.
Yeah, it does.
Nobody wants to admit it who's good at these games. I'm good at Black Ops 4, and I fully admit it's because I have set up a system where it has as little lag, as little latency as possible.
Yeah, input lag is input lag on my OLED is, I think it's 23. Yeah. And even going to the garage and back for the sound system, it's still around 23. Whereas on my plasma, the input lag's like 110.
Yeah, I've been playing on a plasma for like 5 years. I finally set this up, and I'm like, so wait a minute. Is it just that I've had this crappy setup on my plasma all this time? Because now I have this hardwired, like, no lag setup, and I'm like dominating. Like, I literally finish most matches with like 32 kills and like 8 deaths.
Yeah, I ran into that a little bit when I played, because I switched to the new TV when I moved a year ago. Yeah. And I'll tell you, when I loaded up Battlefront 2, I was a lot better at that game all of a sudden than I was on my old plasma. It matters.
It makes a big difference. It makes.
But that's also kind of the thing where I'm like, I can't tell if I'm good or not good.
So I understand why you're saying is that like a scapegoat? Yeah. You're saying like you don't feel good about yourself because you don't know if it's you.
Right. And it's like I can actually kind of pinpoint the moment where I think, because there was at one point there was only me and one other guy left from the group that used to play online all the time. And we teamed up to play Battlefront 1, the first EA Battlefront in 2015, because it was only 2-man squads anyway, so why not? Yeah. And I remember the moment we sort of both got over it I think I told the story on the show when we were talking about the first Battlefront, but we're on Hoth, and a player on the other team was Darth Vader. And came at us, and we realized all of a sudden, here comes Darth Vader. It's a black guy in a cloak is walking across the snow towards us, and we just start shooting and shooting and shooting, and we don't kill him by the time he gets to us. And he picks me up, force choking me, and my friend is still shooting and shooting and shooting, and then suddenly I get released, and Darth Vader spins around and dies, and my friend's like, oh bullshit. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, I'm going to send you a clip, right? And so he sent me a clip, and on his screen, because I'm like, I'm just like choked, and I can't see anything on my screen, right?
Yeah.
On his screen, you see Darth Vader come over and like teleport me to his hand after like 10 feet out, and my friend's still shooting and shooting and shooting, and then suddenly Darth Vader lets go of me, and then Darth Vader falls over, and it says that I killed Darth Vader.
Wow.
Even though, I mean, I was being choked and my friends like shooting and like all this crazy stuff, and then like I like flickered like 3 different places and then like was normal again.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Fuck this!"
That's lag.
And it's just like, yeah, it's like you can't. That should have been like an awesome moment. Like he saved me from Darth Vader. Like
it still kind of was though, right?
But it was stupid. Like it's just like
tainted.
It's just that thing where it's like, man, like you can't trust anything. Like and that was also the same thing in that game. I don't know. Battlefront 2 is better about it, but Battlefront 1, I remember constantly watching kill replays where it's like, that is not what happened
that happens
on my
in
screen.
Every online shooter.
And it's just that kind of thing makes me feel like the playing field isn't level. I don't feel
It's
good
not.
about it when I do well. I don't always know it's my fault when I'm doing poorly, and in the end, I just don't need the aggravation.
Yeah.
So I will dabble with this. I'm interested to see what they do with it because they usually do. The heist mode was great, but one of the reasons I like the heist mode so much is it wasn't against other people.
Yeah. I think they could do great things with Red Dead Online if they put an emphasis on kind of what I said, like a bigger struggle.
Yeah.
So even if it's just you and your posse, just you and 3 people that you like to play with, if your posse can build a reputation throughout the wilderness and people are like when they hear all the sifted posses rolling up and people, or they're scared or whatever, like if you can create that kind of a dynamic inside an online environment, I think it could succeed. It doesn't, first of all, there's no signs pointing towards that. This is all me just saying I would like it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair though because like we didn't know that crazy last update for GTA Online was coming.
Right.
That one with the mountain and the jetpacks and all that flying cars and shit.
Yeah.
Like that was out of nowhere. Like
Yeah.
and I like that because it proved that Rockstar is willing to just go completely crazy.
Yeah, I guess maybe I should have phrased it better as like something like that is probably not coming in the short term.
No.
A year from now, 2 years from now, maybe it's a part of it, but
I think you can count on this being a living thing
absolutely.
for 4 or 5 years. Certainly filling the time between now and GTA 6, which I think is a long, long, long way out.
Well, I mean, there's a reason that Sam, he just got his PS4.
Mm-hmm.
He's been playing GTA for how long, Sam? Since it came out.
Yeah.
He's been playing it all along. He gets a PS4. What's the first thing that pings in his mind that he wants to buy? Grand Theft Auto.
GTA 4?
Yeah.
GTA 5?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first thing that he's like, yeah, I mean, this is what I play. This is what I like to do. And
Ooh, it looks so nice now.
Exactly. Yeah, so
I played GTA 5 twice on 360 and on PS4.
I only played it once. I played it on its original.
I think that's enough. I feel like I
played
probably
it on
won't
Xbox 360.
I feel like I probably won't ever play it again.
Yeah.
But like
That is hands down my most watched or read review I ever did in my career.
Most of my online play was on the PS4 version, though. I didn't play hardly anything online on 360.
Well, that's because
they didn't
it wasn't that great.
All that
Yeah,
stuff.
It was still kind of janky. So I think one thing we can say now, without even playing it, is that if you didn't think you got your money's worth out of Red Dead 2, which I don't know how you could ever say that because the game's a beast, but man, this is just piling it on. So if there are some people out there that are still sitting on the fence and haven't bought it yet. Black Ops did outsell it. Granted, it only had a week for sale. But
you missed a sale this past few days.
Yeah.
So it was discounted.
Yeah, I was just at Best Buy yesterday, and I was talking to the guy there, and he said that the bundle that they have for Red Dead 2, he said they've never sold that many PS4 Pros.
Yeah.
He said we had PS4 Pros that had literally sat in here so long that they made a new model of it, and they came in and took the old ones out and put the new ones in, and they sat there. And he said as soon as they got the bundles for Red Dead, he's like, we discounted the base bundle to like $300. They sold, and he's like, these Red Dead PS4 Pro bundles are just flying out. He's like, we've got hundreds of them, and there was 3 left when I was there yesterday. So, yeah.
I think Sony sold a lot of PS4s this past week.
Absolutely.
Between that and the Spider-Man bundle.
It also, by the way, sold a ton of PS4s in October.
Yeah.
October, do you realize that this past October, last month, was the best October ever for PS4 and the second best PlayStation month for October ever.
Yep.
There was one October for the PlayStation 2 that had a better month than last October for PS4.
Well, do you remember it was like last October, the October before, where like that October was down year over year by whatever, and one of the topics on the show was like, "Are we in trouble?" And I was like, "No, everything will be fine. It's just not that great this year." It's like, Switch owners know what I'm talking about. No,
Stirring the beehive.
It goes in waves. You can't have a Red Dead 2 every year. You can't have a Super Mario Odyssey every year.
Yeah.
Although you can have a Pokemon Go every year, and that's selling better than the other two because there's more Switches out there now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The industry's fine. Like, it's doing great.
Oh, no, it's doing great. Like, if you looked at the October MPDs, it's just, like, peripherals are up 50%. Hardware is up 70% year over year. Like, it is we're destroying last year this year. Which makes me wonder if Sony might be considering, like, hey, maybe we need to put that PS5 on hold for a little bit.
Yeah, I would argue you don't really need that. Yeah, I've said that. Some of my friends have come over and looked at, seen like, somebody said that when they were looking at Red Dead Redemption 1 on my Xbox One X. It's like, we don't need new hardware.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's a last gen game on modern hardware. It looks like that. Like, you don't need to go push that envelope that hard. You don't need to try to get people to spend
on ray tracing
$500, $600 that fast. Like, or just like, that's also, the ray tracing is a good point. Let it sit for a few more years, and you can put ray tracing in these new consoles.
Yeah, I asked for a PS4 Pro again for Christmas. I'll never get it. Like, I never get, like, I should probably follow the tactic of just ask for one thing, but I try to do that. That way, I just get that one thing that I want. But then they're all, I have relatives who can only afford like $5. I'm just give the $5 to my mom. Let her collect all the money.
Everything.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't get there, just give me the money.
Never works out. Yeah. So
I think mine is I want that Lego Voltron.
Oh.
That's that's probably.
Is that your big ass for
probably
Christmas?
my one thing? Yeah. It's not a lot I need, but it's funny once you get a house, you're sort of like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, you are good.
Yeah, like, I don't need anything. It's like,
Well, look, this conversation kind of spun into a general conversation about online gaming, which is fine. But we should probably move on to the next topic. And I will play this over the next couple of days.
Yeah, once we actually play it, there'll probably be more to say.
Yeah, we'll undoubtedly talk about it again on GameFace. But let's move along. We're going to talk next about Rockstar again.
Can you have, or is it only a male character? You create male or female characters?
Oh, I don't know.
You like a
I'm assuming you can
Annie
create a
Oakley
female
running around
character.
sort of thing?
You have to be able to.
Maybe.
Didn't seem like it, though, in the footage.
Didn't look like it. No.
Yeah, it really didn't look like it. I don't know. Still lots of questions to be answered. I mean, it literally just went live this morning. So once we get a chance to play it, we'll come back and talk about it again. Next topic. We're going to stay right on Rockstar, though, because...
Phone of that copyright strike, boys.
Yeah. I think, exactly. It'll make it easier for me to cover up everything so I can put it up on YouTube without getting like copyright banned by Rockstar.
We didn't say anything bad.
No.
This time.
I don't know if it matters. We may be flagged now, man.
Yeah, I don't know. We
told the truth about
might be an
one
enemy of the state.
You can't tell the truth about one of Rockstar's games. We're going to stay on Rockstar, and I think something that's going to make Pachter very sad was revealed yesterday, and that is that Rockstar has not renewed the trademark for Agent.
Well, on behalf of all the more acuitive people on like come on.
I don't know. I mean, Rockstar does have a way of like putting stuff on a back burner.
Sorta, but Agent was come on.
The other problem too
we didn't even know anything about that. I remember I went to an Agent party in 2007.
Yeah.
I remember it was like a girls in gaming thing. It was sponsored by Agent, and that's the only time I remember seeing any kind of anything for Agent in terms of signage or physical objects.
Think about it, Matt. It is an entire thing built on nothing but a logo.
Yep.
And the reputation of the company that said it was making it.
And it was a Sony exclusive, right?
It originally announced as at least a timed exclusive.
Maybe they're just jumping straight to Agent 2.
I don't know. Here's
Re-Agent.
Here's why it has gone on so long. It's because the CEO, is his name Strauss, I think is his last name?
I don't remember.
Anyway, the CEO of Take-Two has perpetuated it for years. When people ask him about it, he's like, still there, nothing to talk about right now, still a thing. And he has never said otherwise until all of a sudden the trademark was released. Somebody who's smart might want to go snag that trademark right now.
Maybe they changed the name.
It's possible. They could have completely changed the game and changed the name of the game. Who knows? But think about all the cachet that Rockstar's heft put into that, that now some other publisher developer can just come by
Sort of.
and scoop it up.
I don't know if that matters that much. Like the people that make Rockstar games huge hits.
Yeah.
They don't know that Agent was a thing. Like
You don't think they know it even existed? I think they
the
do.
millions of people that bought Red Dead Redemption 2, they have
Not all of
they have
them.
no idea that Agent existed.
I think Rockstar fans absolutely know, though.
Yeah,
that-
but you're talking about like core gamers, like people like us. We know about Agent. Most of us know about Agent, but like in terms of like the millions on millions of people that make these games massive phenomena, they don't know that Agent was ever a thing. That information never got out of the hardcore circles.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, unless they'd watched Sony's press conference way back. But since then, they've obviously forgotten.
Man, I don't
it.
even
What
remember
press
seeing
conference
that.
was that? 2007?
That would have been 2007, I think.
Yeah, I think it was.
2007 was the year they actually talked about it openly in any kind of way.
Yeah.
Because that was the year I went to that. I think that was at PAX, actually, the party I went to. I only vaguely remember that, but I just remember how weird it was that like it was a party sponsored by a game that we didn't know anything about except the title.
Yeah.
Like it was just
Well, I mean, that's
weird.
what happened, though. I mean, he went on stage, and there was the logo behind him.
Yeah.
And he said, Rockstar's working on this Agent-y game, and it's going to be exclusive to PlayStation, and wait for it. And wait, we did.
Yeah, we sure did.
Matt, can you think of another example of this, of what happened with Agent, where there was a game announced, people were strung along for 10 years now, and then it didn't come out? Because you think about Duke Nukem Forever, that eventually, in a roundabout way, came
In some
out.
form came out. I don't know.
I can't think of any.
Final Fantasy 13 Versus, in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, 15 is really just a new project that reused a bunch of assets.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think only Rockstar could have done it. Because
Maybe.
only a Rockstar game would people have cared enough about for this long to keep it in the conversation.
Nintendo. People would have cared
Yeah.
about a Nintendo game that long.
Yeah, people still
I
talk
don't think-
about like Dead Phoenix and stuff from
Yeah, but
the
I don't think Nintendo's
Capcom
done
5.
Nintendo hasn't done that, though.
No.
Although Pikmin 4 is getting there.
Yeah, it's kind of right on the fringe. It really is getting there. Where the hell is that game?
I don't know.
It's funny. I'd forgotten
used
about
it
it
this
again.
year.
They could have used it this year. Like, big time they could have used it. I mean, it doesn't sell huge.
But it sells.
It sells. It'll sell 1 million or 2, and like that would have kept Switch owners
Yeah.
happy for another couple
Probably,
months.
add a little like gyro motion
Right,
thing for
yeah.
the selecting stuff, and like you're golden.
You're golden, yeah. So this is an anomaly. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like this again because everything is so
Well, I mean,
calculated.
We'll
It's
see,
like if you,
we'll see if Star Citizen comes out.
yeah. There's, you're right. You're right. But if you like the episode of Pactor Factor that just went up yesterday, kind of alludes to this topic though. It talks about like with the big bets on big budget games, what are the repercussions of that in the long term? And while he doesn't relate that to Agent, it's a clear this is a clear example of how just having that name out there, that conversation attached to a big developer can maintain it in the gaming lexicon. And I don't think many publishers or developers could do that.
Majora Tom is a good one. Half-Life 2 Episode 3.
Yeah. But
I'm never seeing that.
until the
Cliffhanger.
until the Game Awards on December
Ugh.
8th,
Sure.
the VR version of it. That's what everybody thinks.
Yeah, I said that like 2 years ago. I'm like, you want to make VR sell? Make the next Half-Life exclusive to VR.
Yeah, that seems to be the prevailing.
And you very rightly said they would never do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Here it comes.
you throw millions of dollars at VR headset research and development and see what you won't do.
Yeah, we'll talk about Valve in a minute, actually. We have a topic about Valve on today's episode as well. But I just don't see it ever happening again because everything is so planned out. You can't spend like $100 million on a game anymore and have it not come out. It just doesn't.
Well, I mean, Rockstar probably could.
Well, yeah, I mean.
I think a lot of stuff changed over there after GTA Online struck gold.
Yeah.
Like, people,
changes everything.
You even see people online was like, yeah, Rockstar used to put out like 6 games a generation. Now they put out
One.
2.
Like one.
Like 1.5.
Yeah.
Like GTA 5 port.
One will straddle both.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
And like, the rumors are that the next one is Bully too. Which means GTA 6 is a long way out. GTA 6 might be 7-8 years away.
I may never play it before I die.
You might be. I think you will be in your 50s.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you play GTA 6.
Yep, that's crazy to think about. But yeah, I just don't think you're going to have a developer with the cachet to make this happen again. I don't think a publisher or a developer is going to be willing to sink that much money into something for it to never come to fruition.
Well, and most
I think
other
games are just so well planned anymore.
Yeah, well, also most other companies like would need more than just a title to get people excited.
Right.
Like very few.
That's what I'm saying. Like only Rockstar has the cachet to show a logo. And
even then, like Nintendo can kind of did that with Metroid Prime
4,
but it's Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
Agent's like nothing. Agent is a totally new IP that
never
has no
existed.
nothing, but all of a sudden he's like,
well, if
give it to
Rockstar's
me.
Yeah, I mean, people bought a ping pong game because Rockstar made it. Think about it.
Yeah, true.
Isn't it crazy that Rockstar made a ping pong game?
Oh yeah, like no one knows. It was a test bed for something.
And I remember whenever they showed up at GT to like show it to us, and you could just tell that they were like, okay, are these people going to say this is awesome just because we made it? Like, it was this very weird where we're playing it, we're like, yeah, it's a ping pong video game, but it's really no better or worse than any other ping pong or tennis video game. And you can just see that was their fear. They're like, we've made a ping pong game. It has to be the best freaking ping pong game that has ever existed. And I remember before our review came out, they called me and they're like, so how you feeling about Rockstar Table Tennis? And I'm like,
I feel nothing.
Thanks for setting us the code.
Cool.
You do realize it's a ping pong game, right?
Yeah. Like, you think that disrupted our day?
Right.
Somehow?
We literally have.
We can't get the interns to stop playing ping pong. It's amazing.
I mean, exactly. No. They badgered us so much that we started to wonder if there was something like hidden in the game. No, I'm not kidding. Like, we had an editorial meeting one week, and I was like, man, Rockstar called me again about it, like table tennis, and I'm like, how's the review going? And they're like, why are they bothering us about this game? And they're like, do you think that there's something in there that nobody's found? Or like, I'm like, I don't know.
You're just seeing how far they can push it.
It's just Rockstar.
Yeah.
It's just Rockstar being Rockstar. So, but again, that's their aesthetic. That's their attitude. It's one of many reasons why they're at the top of the heap. It's one of many reasons why they can make a video game about cowboys and make it the second best-selling game of the year in 5 days.
Yeah. A setting that basically no one touches.
Yeah.
Like, the only other probably more taboo action setting is a pirate setting.
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean is the anomaly for Cutthroat Island basically ended pirate movies until Pirates of the Caribbean came along, and no one makes other pirate movies. You'll notice because it's just it's considered a genre that people just won't touch. We got another one of those this week. I got Sea of Thieves, and Sea of Thieves still going.
It is still going.
Still going.
Yeah.
Another update coming.
Do you know the best-selling?
Adds fog.
Yeah, exactly.
Important for water. For
it is
sea
important.
Games.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that it wasn't already there.
No, I didn't think that. Well, because it's so pretty that you don't think about it. But it's like, oh yeah, fog is a thing.
You kind of need that.
You need that, especially if there's skeletons running around. I mean, God, skeletons with no fog. What are you doing?
Yeah. But again, I just think that this is something that only Rockstar could have pulled off. Yeah. I don't think Rockstar is ever going to do something like this again.
Right.
And so I don't think we'll ever see another Agent.
It's also telling that like there aren't a whole bunch of like Western games in development as like a Me Too. Everyone knows like it's Rockstar.
Just let them do it. Yeah.
Especially Activision's like, we tried it with that gun thing and it just didn't work.
Exactly. Yeah. The top two selling games of the year are Black Ops 4 and Red Dead already. In like 2 weeks for Black Ops and 1 week for Red Dead, they outsold every game of all year. Number 3 is Far Cry. That was surprising to me.
Far Cry is very popular.
It is absolutely popular.
That's the other, because that's also the kind of the Ghost Recon Wildlands phenomenon, where it's like, I don't know anyone who was talking about that game, but it was the top seller the first half of that year.
You're already starting to see it with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Yeah. It had it appears that it had a better second month than first month.
And people, people talk about like Ubisoft, like the Jim Sterling thing about Ubisoft. The whole thing was like, oh, they're barely hanging on. They're like, no, they are doing really freaking well. Like they are.
Yeah. People
they are
like,
raking
what'll happen
in
to
fucking
Ubi over
money.
Starlink? Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
Also, I did some digging on the Starlink. I commented on this on Sifted a little bit, but I did some digging on the Starlink thing, and because I was worried about it, I was like, it doesn't look like it did too well. So it turns out the conventional wisdom on those Toys to Life things is that you can't sell them without a gift holiday. So the idea here is, the idea is, and this is a big thing in toy selling. It's not as much because video games we think of as very front loaded. Very. If it didn't burn up the charts that first opening weekend, it's like movies. It's like you got to front load everything, and everything else is kind of gravy.
Yeah.
With toys to life stuff and toys in general, apparently the strategy is you want to release it in time to have it in stores and ready for basically this past week, Black Friday, for the shopping season for Christmas. The idea is you get some of these things in homes for Christmas, kids play with them, their friends come over and play with the stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I want that," and then you sell the bulk of your stuff in the January to April window.
Those gift cards,
right?
Yeah.
You sell the bulk of the stuff in that early first half of the year. So the idea is that like Ubisoft probably is looking for sales to pick up in January going in the early year, because that's just how these Toys to Life things work, because that's how toys work.
Well, at Best Buy they had rows
so they're ready,
and rows of Starlink stuff.
So
all just sitting there.
Well, that's apparently the plan. This guy isn't involved with Ubisoft, but he does know toys.
Yeah.
And he basically said if they're getting the analysis from toy people, and they should be because of the nature of Starlink, they are not worried. Yeah, they'll be worried if February rolls around and they haven't moved any more of them than they did in the past.
Then
few
the
months.
retailers are really worried.
But
they give up all that shelf
that's
space.
the big that's the big risk is and that's even probably that was the question that people were kind of asking. It was how did Ubisoft convince retailers to give up that space to that kind of thing after they got burned so hard on Skylanders and
all of it.
and
Infinity, all of it.
Lego. It's an interesting. I would love to know what Ubisoft said or what they did or what deal they signed that convinced somebody. Because man, I went to Target.
Maybe they give them a cut, like $2 off every copy of Assassin's Creed
I
Odyssey.
went to Target the day Starlink came out. They weren't out.
Yeah.
They weren't there. There was nothing. I had to ask for behind the counter to get because I wanted the exclusive one that only was at Target, and I had to ask someone.
Interesting.
And they brought it out from back, and it wasn't until a week later that I was there for something else. I'm like, oh, the Starlink. There's this tiny little end cap that it's Starlink. Best Buy seems to have gone in harder.
Yeah, it's full of it.
In part because there's nothing, there's nothing else there. I mean, it's amazing to me. You go there and even look in the Nintendo aisle, there's no amiibos except maybe a couple stray wedding Marios.
They're also very paranoid about shoplifting. They have a lot of stuff behind the counter.
True.
You take up basically a placeholder. It's kind of like the old Toys R Us model.
Yeah,
where
they
you
do
take
that.
the ticket to the counter and then they pull
I'd like to see someone try to shoplift those ships though. Those are bulky.
Absolutely.
But but apparently Starlink ain't dead yet necessarily. I mean, it did do a lot better on the Switch though.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
No surprise. Yep.
Just give those guys Star Fox from now on.
Seriously, let them make Star Fox. That'd be great.
Yeah,
I'm totally down with that. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Darksiders 3, a game that 2 years ago I never would have guessed we'd be talking about.
Yeah,
Revived from the ash pile.
It did seem like it must be a dead series because the developer was gone and THQ collapsed. So usually that's the end.
It basically was just pulled off of the ash heap when THQ Nordic was formed.
Yep.
And THQ Nordic put nice chunk of money into this game. I still don't know where all that money's come from, but
their financials are super high. They're doing great, and I don't know why.
I don't get it.
And that rhymed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I have not been playing this, but Matt, you have been playing it. Reviews came out yesterday. It's available today, I believe.
Available yesterday.
Oh, you said actually they released it on Sunday.
Yeah, mine went live
something.
9 p.m. Sunday night.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
So the first two games are good. The first one, when it came out, I thought was really good.
First one I didn't like very much when it came out.
It was a Zelda clone, essentially.
Very much a Zelda. That's one of the reasons I didn't like it, is I felt it was very derivative of the Ocarina formula of Zelda.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we gave it a 2 out of 5 on the show.
That's definitely low for
most low,
people.
But my opinion of it has softened over the years, in part because Nintendo stopped making those kinds of Zeldas.
Right.
And so now it's sort of
now they're
nice
nostalgic,
to go back. And also, I did always think that it was, Vigil was a brand new company, and they made that. It was you made a full-size, full-fledged Zelda ripoff. But ripoff in the sense that you did everything Zelda did. It all worked fine. It all worked
no one else was doing it.
No. Very few others have ever pulled off the Zelda clone idea as well as that. Sega did back in the day. Crusader of Senti, go play it. If you haven't played Crusader of Senti, you're missing out. but so over the years, I've played Darksiders 1, I think, 3 times, and it's kind of become a comfort food game, oddly enough. Also, I do like Joe Madureira's art style. I don't think it translates very well to 3D.
It's still, the game looks unique.
It still looks like itself.
It has its own style.
And also remember, so Gunfire Games, which made Darksiders 3, Gunfire Games is most of the original Vigil Games team, because they went to Crytek, and then a whole bunch of weird stuff happened that I don't remember the specifics of, and one of the leaders of the Vigil people formed a new company called Gunfire Games and brought over a bunch of the Vigil guys and a bunch of the Crytek guys that didn't want to work for Crytek anymore. And so this game was made by a lot of the people who made the other two. So it does feel authentic. It looks and feels like Darksiders. I feel like it's very consistent in terms of its portrayal of the universe and sort of that, what if we made a religious cosmology using entirely like ideas and concepts from Image Comics in 1995 kind of thing? Because that is what this is. This is like, a comic book that didn't play by the Comics Code Authority rules of circa 1995 that wasn't Spawn but had read a lot of Spawn, and which is, you're either going to love that or you're going to hate it. It's like no two ways. Either you think this is the worst, either you think this is emblematic of the thing that destroyed comic books in the 90s, or you think this is a nice throwback to something you remembered when you were a kid and weren't.
I think a lot of it depends on your age.
You were too young to understand that what you were reading was stupid.
Right.
And this is stupid, but it's fun.
By the way, this is the opening of the game, so we're not going to
Yeah.
spoil anything for you guys. We're not going deep into the game. Literally, all the B-roll we have is from the first
There also
hour.
isn't really much to spoil.
So talk about it. It's a prequel, right?
Sort of. It's like Darksiders 2. It takes place during Darksiders 1. So Darksiders 1, the very beginning, Armageddon occurs, or the apocalypse occurs. Angels and demons are fighting in the streets of the city. It's
Armageddon,
like, it's the end of the world, literally the end of the world. And War, there's War right there. War shows, he's who you play as in the first game. He shows up, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and starts fighting and killing things. And then it turns out that the seventh seal wasn't broken. And so War had arrived ahead of time and broken the rules of the universe or whatever. So he gets imprisoned here by the Charred Council, which are these giant stone skull faces that sound like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. And he gets blamed for all this. But the implication of the course of Darksiders 1 is that he was framed, that War was framed.
Yep.
Now, he's in prison like that because in Darksiders 1, he gets taken off Earth by the Charred Council and blamed for this, and then gets sent back to deal with the aftermath, but he gets sent back 100 years later. So Darksiders 2 and Darksiders 3 take place during that 100-year break where War is imprisoned by the Charred Council. Darksiders 2 seems to take place later than this, because Darksiders 3 you run into some actual human beings. In Darksiders 1, all the humanity is extinct by the time War gets back to Earth. And I don't think you saw... They seem to be on their last legs when you get back to Earth in Darksiders 2. This seems to be a little earlier into the 100 years, because there's still like a underground resistance of humans fighting the demons and the angels, because the angels aren't any nicer. Which is interesting. Also gives, finally you get to see that, like, yes, the horsemen are bigger than humans. They're substantially larger than humans. Fury's about 7 feet tall, it looks like, standing next to a person. But what Fury's doing, Fury is, she's one of the horsemen, and they call her a horseman for some reason. She's not a man, but she's a horseman. I don't know.
I guess
they call her horseman. I mean, they're she's the story goes that do
they really have genders? I mean, they have things that they look like, but are they really genders?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It depends what they look like, I guess. If she wants to be.
I mean, I'm asking. Like, I don't know the Bible well enough to know.
Oh, this has nothing to do with the Bible.
Well,
zero to do with the Bible.
The four horsemen of the apocalypse comes from the Bible.
Not this. None of this does.
Well, of course not.
I mean,
but that's what they're basing it on. They're basing it on biblical prophecy.
Very loose. I mean, so loose it's going to fall off any moment. I mean, Fury is not a horseman in the Bible. The four horsemen in the Bible are war, death, war, death, famine, and conquest. And conquest is usually traded out for pestilence in the popular culture.
Yeah.
But in Darksiders, it's war, death, fury, and strife. Strife is the only one that doesn't have a game.
Not biblically accurate.
No, not at all. This is Image Comics accurate, but it's not biblically accurate. And the story in the games is that the four horsemen are Nephilim, which are the offspring of angels and demons. And the Nephilim were these superpowered monster things that basically were running rampant and rampaging across reality. And eventually, 4 of the Nephilim realized that it was not working, and basically everything was going to die. And so 4 Nephilim made a deal with the Charred Council to stop their own kin. And those 4 Nephilim became the Horsemen and were empowered by the Charred Council with super crazy powers, and they basically wiped out all the other Nephilim. That's dealt with in Darksiders 2, is that Death is basically considered a war criminal by a lot of the rest of the universe because he betrayed his own kind.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Fury is sort of you can tell from her name, Fury is the hot-tempered one. She has very little patience for the others. She wants to run the horse. She wants to be the leader of the Horsemen. So the Charred Council, apparently, in the process of what happened with war, the 7 deadly sins got out, and you're actually seeing envy right there. That's the first 7 deadly sin you run into. So the 7 deadly sins are running around on Earth, and they need someone to go round them up and put them back in their box. And so they have Fury do that in exchange for, if Fury does it, she will be able to be named leader of the 4 Horsemen.
That character reminds me of like Jim Henson, Dark Crystal.
Yeah, it does look like a Skeksis.
Yeah.
Also sounds like Hagar from Voltron.
Oh.
The witch from Voltron. So the impetus of the story is Fury has to track down and kill. I mean, you beat them and then you suck them in a little gem thing, and you have to beat the 7 deadly sins. It is more of a return to the first game, because the first game was Zelda. The second game was a giant open-world sprawling mess that also had a Diablo loot system in it. I never quite knew what to make.
The developers always try to create the game that's like a clone of whatever the latest hotness is. Yeah.
And this is sort of that, but also sort of not, in the way that it's a bit of a throwback in terms of how it's fairly linear. I would say if the first game is Zelda, this is more Metroid.
Interesting.
In the sense that there's a lot of places you can't quite access early on, and you
get.
It's that thing where early on.
Zelda's like that too, though.
Sort of, but this is more Metroid in the sense that it's a smaller map. It's less about exploration and more about just I'm going through here, and now I got this thing I can go through here, and I backtrack and go through this thing that was very. In Metroid you see those things where it's like clearly you can go through here, but I don't have the thing I need to get through here.
I don't have the right missile or whatever. Yeah.
There's a lot of that in this. Like you're clearly seeing things that you need some item or ability to get through. All like from the first room almost. You're like, okay, I see what this is. And it's small and directed enough that there is actually no map in this game. There's fast travel
I can't remember the
points.
last time I played a game that didn't have a
There's
map.
fast travel points, but there is no map. You don't have it yet in the footage here, but there is like a Skyrim style compass up at the top that shows you a little skull icon in the direction of where the next sin.
So there is a waypoint at least.
There is like a director for it, but there isn't like this game is not like geographically complex enough to require a big map. There is also no horse travel. The other 2 games you could ride your horse around because you're a horseman, right?
Yeah.
So you do not use Fury's horse Rampage in this at all.
Where is the horse?
The horse is dead.
Oh.
So the first boss you fight,
I'm sorry I asked.
you summon the horse, and the horse shows up with a giant sword through it. And that's the end of the
Oh, wow. Just like that.
But it was just all part of the whole thing where, the horsemen are being set up. The horsemen, and this was also part of it too, was like the horsemen are being set up by someone.
They're suckers.
And you still don't quite know. Maybe it's the Charred Council. Maybe it's something else. At some point they need to make the game that explains this. Hopefully they... It's because
we'll see.
There's a cliffhanger at the end of Darksiders. Darksiders 1 had a cliffhanger where basically at the end it looked like the 4 horsemen were getting back together and they were going to declare war against all of reality.
Right.
And at some point they should
declare war on reality.
At some point they should probably.
That's been happening the last 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, War says to her when she leaves at the beginning of this game, "There's something wrong with the universe. Watch your back," basically. And so hopefully they're going to get to this somehow. I hope they don't feel the need to make a game for Strife as well, because that would just be a shooter. Strife uses guns.
Yeah.
And Strife's 2 guns have actually been items you can use regularly in Darksiders 1 and 2. So presumably at some point he doesn't have his guns. So maybe he doesn't have his guns, so you can't make a game about it. Just get on with it.
So basically you're waiting for this cliffhanger from the first game to be resolved.
And you've had 2 games of kind of stalling.
You haven't
almost
finished this yet, though.
No, I'm about halfway through it. It's pretty short. It's only about 10, 11 hours, apparently. And judging by the number of deadly sins
Which is
I've
way
killed,
shorter than the other 2 games.
judging by the number of deadly sins I've killed, I'm about halfway through. I've killed 4 of them. This is Envy. Envy is the first one, and she's kind of like a throw. She's the tutorial boss, basically, so I don't count her. But I've done 3 real sections.
Okay.
And some of those have been pretty good fights. Here's the weird thing about this game. I said it was like Metroid.
Yeah.
The other thing it's like is Dark Souls.
So watching the footage, it looks like Devil May Cry to me.
There's definitely influence there, but it's more Dark Souls meets Devil May Cry, and I don't mean that really as a compliment so much.
Because some people would hear that and absolutely take that as a compliment.
But it is not as polished as a Devil May Cry would be expected to be, and in terms of Dark Souls, it takes a lot of ideas from Dark Souls, but implements them strangely. So I think here's the weird thing about it is that the oft debated easy mode for a Dark Souls game, I think this is pretty much what it would be.
Really?
Because of 3 key differences in how they implement the Dark Souls ideas.
Other than the fact that it's nowhere near as interesting a universe as Dark Souls.
Well, that's not really here nor there.
Right.
The key is the 3 key ways it differs that like make me go are so you collect souls just when you defeat enemies and when you pick up items, just like in Dark Souls, and then you trade those souls in to Vulgrim, the demon who's always the shopkeeper in this series. You trade those in for leveling up and to use as currency to buy stuff, just like Dark Souls. The difference here, and if you die, you drop your souls and have to go back and get them. The whole same deal. I didn't know that for a while because I didn't die for like 3 hours.
Does the waypoint show you how to get back to get it?
No, just like Dark Souls.
Kind of stinks.
Just like Dark Souls. But here's the thing.
Quite a move list.
One of the big difference here in how they implement that is in Dark Souls, part of the difficulty comes from when you go to the bonfire, you can trade in your souls to level up, but you have to have enough souls to level up. In this game, you can bank souls with Vulgrim whenever you want, even if it doesn't level you up.
Interesting.
So you can, if you don't want to buy anything, you can straight up every time you go to Vulgrim, you can just bank every soul you have down to 0, and it'll be there when you come back to put more in to level up. So basically you can make it so you never lose any souls of note.
So it's like Dark Souls without any consequences.
Sort of, yeah.
Some people may like that.
Well, I'll get to that. Because some of these ideas aren't bad if you want like an easy mode Dark Souls, but there's other things that make that kind of moot. The other thing, also there's no stamina bar, so you're good.
Makes a big difference.
You don't like. I know you aren't a stamina bar guy.
I am not.
So that right there, that makes it. Remove the stamina bar, and let you bank souls at any time. There's your easy mode for Dark Souls.
Yeah.
The other thing is the way the Estus Flask equivalent works is called Nephilim Restoration or something. I don't know, Nephilim something. It's a little green icon, and you have a limited number. It's just like the Estus Flask. You have a limited number. You can upgrade how many you have. You can upgrade how much healing it does over the course of the game. The difference here is that the Estus Flask in Dark Souls is refilled when you rest at a bonfire, which resets all of the enemies, right? So in this, the healing item Estus Flask equivalent is refilled whenever a green soul pops out of an enemy. So you can refill your Estus Flask just by fighting.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, because the souls are so easy to bank and death is so without consequence, the trick is when you die and respawn, you get your Estus Flask refilled. That's the only time you can get it automatically refilled. You don't get it refilled when you talk to Vulgrim, like if you were staying at a bonfire.
Right.
The fastest, if you're out of health, if you're out of Estus Flasks, like fighting a boss or whatever, the fastest way to get yourself refilled is just to die. Then you get all your health items back.
That's really lame.
And you can just go, and like if you've been banking your souls responsibly with Vulgrim, you haven't lost more than like 5 enemy kills.
Right.
It's completely without consequence. And like the problem that I'm running into now is I am getting to the point where like the game is starting to ramp up and try to be a little harder and try to demand a little more of you, because the dodging is a big deal. The dodging takes a page out of Bayonetta, where if you dodge at the last second, you get a more powerful counterattack you can do. So you're
I mean, lots of games are like that anymore.
right. So you're really trying to throw that. Dodging is important in a Dark Souls sense, but it's also important in kind of a Devil May Cry character action game thing, because if you dodge at the right time, you get a nice hard hit out of it. It's very important also with bosses. And like I'm getting to the point where it's starting to be more demanding about that, and she's pretty fragile. She can take like 4 hits, 4 hits from a strong enemy. And I get to the point where it's just like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like I'm banging my head against this one enemy.
Yeah.
And
I hate when I get to that point in a game
it
where
does
it's
reset,
like I don't care anymore.
And it does reset all the enemies when you die. So they do, that is
they
like
all
Dark
respawn.
Yeah, that is like
Okay.
Dark Souls. Not the unique enemies, but all the cannon fodder respawns.
Right.
So you're kind of killing the same skeletons over and over. It gets a little tiresome.
And you can just see in this footage that the enemies get repetitive pretty quickly.
And of course, there's an issue of the camera's not great. Fighting multiple enemies is very difficult because it doesn't show you what's happening. You really, especially when you're talking about projectile enemies, because projectile-based enemies, there's no indicator that they're shooting at you unless you're really listening for the sound cues. So, like, how important it was in God of War when you had that little marker that said a projectile's coming in?
Yep.
Yeah, imagine playing something like that with a camera that close to you, but you can't see it.
No, thanks.
You have no warning.
No, thanks.
So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Technically, it's extremely rough. There is...
You mean like bugs and glitches
everything.
and stuff?
There's bugs, there's glitches.
The game looks pretty good.
There's frame rate problems constantly. It drops sub 20 at times, even on the Xbox One X. There's a thing, I don't know if you'll see it in this cutscene, but there's a thing where the cutscenes do, especially this one. Yeah, you can see it. Whenever it cuts back to the big guy, you see how you see the character model suddenly snap to place?
Yeah.
That happens all the time when
How
the camera
can they not
camera
fix that?
switches. Every time the camera cuts, like you'll see a character kind of like snap into place, or all his clothes will suddenly drop into the physics engine or stuff like that.
What?
Happens constantly. Like a lot of the reviews have said, it feels like an old game, like a last gen game, and that to me is one of the reasons is it feels so technically creaky.
It's just like borderline.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it feels like, and I mean, so apparently this was kind of like a lower budget game. Apparently the budget was somewhere around 30 million. The CEO of THQ Nordic said that they'll be happy with it if it sells 100,000 copies. Which I originally was like, oh, that's not too many, but now I'm like,
That might be tight.
Like that, it didn't get great reviews, and like,
If it
feels
came out in
it feels like everyone
April,
well, it
then
feels like
maybe.
everyone forgot this was coming out.
I mean, it just seemed like it came out of nowhere.
It was a weird place to put it.
It was, yeah. I mean, this is one of those games that would fare far better if it came out in Q1 instead of Q4.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm sure THQ Nordic has stockholders and people that they have to keep happy every
There had to be a
quarter.
reason. I don't know what their reason was, but there had to be something. So hopefully it does okay, and we get a Darksiders 4 that finally wraps things up and fulfills the promise of that cliffhanger in Darksiders 1. I've been hanging on that thing for 10 years now. By the way, I don't hate it. I like it okay. It's fine because it's I don't think it's as good as 1. It's not I don't like it quite as much as 2, but at the same time 2 was a big bloated sprawling mess I've never actually finished.
Yeah.
So at least I'll probably get to the end of this because it's a fairly short game.
Do you think it's the last one we'll ever see?
No, I mean this is the most high profile property THQ Nordic owns.
Yeah.
So I feel like they will probably take another shot at this.
Are you surprised it's so rough around the edges, considering this team and a lot of people on the team have so much experience working on big budget games?
I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what the speed or what the roughness of the combat system that doesn't seem to really, it's hard to describe. It just doesn't feel good in a lot of places. The way that
I'm going to talk about a game in a little bit that's that way.
The way that like Devil May Cry feels good, or like Bayonetta feels good. Like you feel like
responsive,
connected to everything.
In control,
you pull something crazy off, and you're like, I
feel
did
good
that.
about it.
Like in this, it's like you're fighting the camera and the monsters and the dodge button being in a weird place, and it has a weird like lack of communication. Like you see you see in some of these the clips here, her hair is glowing, like it's glowing purple or red or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's like these things called hollows you get, which are like upgrades that let you. So like one of them lets you turn fire, like the fire, and like one of them lets you turn into electricity. So like her hair becomes yellow with electricity. those look like something you have to equip back and forth, because the fire moves you have when you're on fire can get rid of certain obstacles, whereas like,
yeah, we saw it in the footage earlier.
Yeah,
actually.
so and like the electricity one lets you hover, so you can get across gaps easier, that kind of thing.
There's the dead horse.
Yeah, there's Rampage. So like I got the second one of those, so I didn't have the fire anymore. I had electricity, and I had to get rid of one of the things you need fire to get rid of, and I couldn't figure out how to get the fire back. And like I go into like the menus, and I'm like trying to select it, and there's no way to select it in our inventory to like fit, or the character screen to like do it or anything. And like I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do. There's nothing in the menus, and the little tooltip keeps saying like hold Y to do a fire attack. I'm like, I'm doing an electrical attack because the fire is not active.
Yeah.
And finally, I figured out that you have to hold left bumper and press when you're holding left bumper, each face button
modifies the
changes
face button.
changes you from like the different elemental abilities.
Got ya.
The game never told me that. As far as I saw, the game never told me. So shit like that. But like stuff like the cutscenes where everybody's jumping around from shot
So
to shot.
weird, yeah.
Like I don't even know what to think about that.
Yeah.
That is like an Unreal Engine 2 kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So what would you recommend people buy this game at?
40. I think this game should have been 40.
Like from the get-go, it
Yes.
should have been $40.
I know they can't do that because it's their highest profile franchise and it costs a certain amount of money.
Cheapen it. Yeah.
You can't do that. But like this game should have been $40.
Yeah. So you would say people should be comfortable spending that for it?
If you liked the series and you want to see more of it, and you're ready for this to be sort of like a Devil May Cry by way of not really as good as Devil May Cry.
And we have a real Devil May Cry coming
But
pretty
moderately
soon.
common. I mean, there was supposed to be a day one patch that fixed a lot of stuff. I did not see that go up on my Xbox,
Yeah.
unless it was already there when I downloaded it, which I don't think it was. I mean, I'd kind of keep an eye on it and see about a price drop in the next few months, because I feel like that's going to be coming probably in
Oh,
Jan-
yeah.
Oh yeah. But also keep an eye on like the updates and see if they fix that, because the frame rate's bad, man.
Like that bad.
Like not like I can't play this bad, but like in terms of the kind of game it is, you can't have frame rate drops in a character action game like that.
No, we're with
like,
counters.
And I mean,
parries,
there's things where like, because she pulls the whip back
Yeah.
to whip it, and sometimes if the camera angle is just right, the whip will kind of like get right in front of the camera, and when it does that, whatever the particle effect or whatever that's around the red around the whip, like the frame rate tanks for like a split second. It just goes, and like all the combat sort of goes.
Oh jeez.
I mean, entering new. A lot of it maybe it's information like loading streaming, because like it happens a lot when you move to a new area. Like there's a big hitch.
Lots of games.
The longest hitch I've had is 7 seconds. Like everything just froze.
Oh, that's not a hitch, man.
Everything just froze.
That goes
for 7
beyond
seconds.
hitch territory.
And I was like going to, like, my thumb was going down to press the Xbox button to go to home to quit the game,
and it came back,
and it moved again. And so it's like, yeah, it's very technically rough, and it needs some petting.
Okay, so you say you'd buy it at $40?
I'd buy
Here's the big question.
I'd buy it at 40 if they do some updates and bring it up to par. Because I mean, I'm playing this on an Xbox One X.
Right.
Like,
oh man.
Like, there's no way this is running well on a vanilla bone or a regular PS4.
So here's the question: at $40, do you buy this or Fallout 76, which also costs $40?
This. No question. Not even no. Like, you'd have to give me Fallout 76.
I thought you were going to say you have to pay me to play Fallout 76.
I mean, maybe too, but like, at the very least, you're going to have to make Fallout 76 free to play.
Yeah, which may not be that far
away. But
away.
don't count them out yet.
It may not be that far away, my friend, honestly.
This is not glitchy on the level of Fallout 76. It's just rough.
Okay.
But it's rough in a way that you're like, the two problems I have with the way it's rough is like, one, it's a story-driven character action game.
Yeah. Which
means you should have the cutscenes looking good, and you should have the frame rate smooth. And those two things are kind of the most glaring problems.
Some of the cutscenes look pretty good, though.
They look fun, yeah, but there's moments where I think, because there's pre-rendered ones like this. I think that was pre-rendered, and then there's ones where it's clearly in-engine. Those are the ones where when the camera angle changes, they're clearly having trouble rendering the characters fast enough, especially the big guys.
Yeah.
And there's just little things like there's a giant like. The Lord of Hollows you meet early on, and like he's like this giant, like he's probably like 30 feet tall, and like he's got all the fancy stuff all over the robes and everything, but he's got like these bracelet sort of handcuff things that have like a little like dangly chain thing, and the chain thing constantly clips into his hand, into his wrist, while he's moving his hand talking.
Things, yeah.
And it's just like, well, if you couldn't do that right,
just get rid of it.
Why is that chain
Why is it there?
Like, just get rid of it and have it be a link. Just
poor decision
like
making.
It's just why are you even doing that? Why are you doing this thing that clearly
that makes your game look bad?
Yeah.
Just get rid of it.
Right.
No one's gonna be. Oh wait, where did that chain go?
Right. Why doesn't that little hook there have a chain hanging off it? Who gives a shit?
Who cares?
I only noticed it because it keeps clipping through his freaking wrist. Now I don't even remember what he said. So yeah, it's like things like that.
I think we all get it. We've all played games like this, and like,
which is, I think, again, why the reviewers keep talking about how it feels like a throwback.
Yeah, because that's the way old games work.
Yeah, and because like you had tons of games that like kind of felt like that on the 360, but people can't afford to make them like that anymore.
Yeah,
that kind of B-list game has gone away. And this is very much that.
Though.
It's very much, but it might if they keep doing it like this. Because damn it, I want to see the end of this damn story.
I don't know why they wouldn't have just done that with this game.
Well, I think because they didn't have the budget for it. The follow-up to Darksiders, the end of Darksiders 1, is going to be a giant frickin'
like war, basically.
I mean, yeah, it's Armageddon times 2, because now the 4 horsemen are going up against the angels and the demons and possibly God himself. And
I don't think you'll ever see that, Matt. I hate to say
if they get to do another one, I would hope they do that.
I hope so too.
Because don't waste another game on Strife, for God's sake. No one cares what Strife was doing. Not even the other horsemen seem to care what Strife was doing. Fury keeps calling Strife the delicate one.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, because no one's ever seen him. Maybe he's in the game later. I don't know. They've talked about Strife enough that I think maybe he might show up later on.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the final boss. Ooh.
What a twist that would be.
Crazy.
All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Valve. Mm-hmm. Valve appears to be a company in transition right now. So some initial screens leaked out of a redesign of Steam. Seems people are okay with most of the changes. They're mostly
I saw a thing about that, but I didn't look at it.
It's mostly like cosmetic stuff. It's not a big deal. The bigger deal to me was that this week, Valve's Steam Link piece of hardware, I guess you can't call it a peripheral.
No, it's
what is it really?
It's like a sling box, really.
Kind of, it is, yeah. For those of you who don't know, Steam Link is a little device that you plug into your Ethernet network at your home, and you put it under your TV, and you plug it with an HDMI cable into your TV, and it will basically stream whatever is on your PC to your television. And that can be video games that are in your stream library. It can be video content that you're watching on your PC. I have one of these. I bought it for like $10. I freaking love it. I think the applications for it, a lot of people are just like, well, I don't want to play PC games on my TV with the latency, and I totally get that. But the practical applications of that piece of hardware go far beyond just playing.
Well, most of the people I know who use it more for video stuff.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to worry about latency on that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. As long as it's just synced, the audio and the video synced, it's all good. And it does that with aplomb. So
very handy for cutting the old cable, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you want to stream stuff from your PC out to your TV, absolutely.
But I just I was using it for games, and I hit too many games that, the latency killed them.
So
the final straw was trying to play Arkham City. Which,
you've mentioned that
trying to do the
before.
counters on that was just like, okay, this isn't working.
Yeah, any game that has like frame by frame timing is going to be
But it was
tough.
nice for like turn-based RPGs.
That
or
works.
Like Divinity,
like
Original
strategy
Sin,
games,
those things.
it works, stuff like that.
XCOM, it's good for that.
Yeah, but I use it mostly for media streaming from my PC, which is all the way in the back, to my TV out in the living room. And right now, they are getting rid of all the Steam Links for like $2.50.
Yeah, it's summer sale. I think they were $1.50.
Yeah,
but it was $7.99 shipping.
Yeah, apparently they're sold out in Canada. You can still get them in the U.S. And I highly recommend spending $2.50 on a Steam Link.
Yeah, $10 really.
After your shipping. Yeah, you pay more for shipping than you will for the actual item. But anyway, so Valve has decided to discontinue the Steam Link and push people instead towards the Steam Link app, which it feels it can just, hire a couple engineers to work on it and keep updating it, and it's better than having this piece of hardware. And look, selling hardware brings a whole other list of headaches and issues, and problems, fighting with retailers for shelf space, trying to get it. I can understand.
I'm sure they feel burned by the Steam box thing.
The Steam box. Oh, you mean Steam machines?
Yeah, Steam. Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at. So Valve appears to have wanted to bail on this piece of hardware. And do you feel like it is a side effect of what happened with the Steam machines?
I mean, I think it's in the same ballpark. It definitely seems like, it feels like Valve is learning that maybe sticking their toe in the hardware world was not the most positive experience they could ever have had. And it's time to sort of back away. There are some people that believe that the discontinuation of this Steam Link is simply paving the route for a Steam Link 2 that's going to have some kind of new tech in it. But I don't think
very excited about that, except I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, I don't think we have any kind of concrete evidence for anything like that.
I mean, they had to basically give these away to get rid of them. I mean, that's really what it came down to. I bought mine for $10. They started at what, 50 or 60?
Yeah, like 50.
And I got mine for $10, and I was like,
I got mine from Amazon, I think, for like $12.
I got mine on Amazon too. And I literally thought I was like robbing Valve.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'll get this for 10. Now they're $2.50. So typically you don't release sequels to products that ultimately you had to sell for $2 to get rid of. So I don't think that's the case at all. I think this is Valve saying, hey, we're getting out of the hardware business. We're really a software company. Let's be honest. They're a software and services company. It always has been. Only in the last 5 or 6 years has it really tried to break out into this hardware segment, which I don't know why it did. I'm glad it did because I love my Steam Link, but I can't understand why it went in that direction. But now it seems like it's figured it out and it's pulling back. I mean, even going so far as to talk about like its partnership with HTC for the Vive. Like for the last half decade, Valve has been neck deep in hardware, and it appears to me that it is reverting back to its old ways to be a services and software company. Is that a bad thing, or is that the right move for Valve?
I think it's better to specialize in this case. I mean, also, I don't feel like they've done a great job with the Steam machines thing. Was like, I mean, I know they kind of protected themselves by sort of having third parties do that for the most part, so they didn't take a huge bath. But the Steam, like, what does the Steam Link thing really get them? I mean, I think they were trying to like kind of horn in on the console space with that, but it doesn't feel like...
Well, it was a half step between someone buying a Steam box, basically.
Right, but I don't
It's like, okay, people don't want to... Maybe, and it was maybe a reaction or hedging its bet on the Steam box and the Steam machines.
Yeah, I just don't think it gained them anything, really. It sounds like they just ended up with a warehouse full of these things.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you think about it, why did Valve release that product? I mean, sure, when they first sold them for $50, they were probably making them for 10. So there would have been huge profit if they had got people to jump on board. But aren't you kind of cannibalizing your other initiative, which is getting people to buy shuttle PCs to stick underneath their televisions?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're paying like $20 for a Steam Link versus like, what, $1,500 for a Steam machine?
Yeah.
It does feel like, it's like, well, there's a point at which good is good enough.
Yeah, I mean, you're undermining yourself, your own product, your own market when you do that. So, I don't know. Valve's detour into hardware has mostly been a huge mistake. Even Vive has, honestly, like, I don't know how much money Valve invested into that. Maybe nothing. Maybe they were just a promotional partner. But to me, any amount of money that Valve put into that partnership with HTC Vive was wasted money.
Well, we'll see when that Half-Life thing comes out.
But but aren't the rumors that Valve is working on like another VR HMD?
Maybe. There's a lot of weird things flying around. I mean, it was like, what was that? What's the company that made Was it Starbreeze?
That made what?
Payday 2?
Yeah.
There's like rumors that they're about to shut down, and one of the things that
they're hurt.
And one of the things that happened was they threw all this money into developing their own VR headset. Which is like, what?
Dude, we could have told you.
Yeah.
I think we actually did that. The mixed reality, I think we did that topic, mixed reality headsets on GameFace, and I think we both were like, what are you doing? Like, if HTC can't get it to work, Sony can't get it to work, you think Starbreeze is going to roll in and like make VR a success?
Facebook. It's looking like Facebook has had a hand in helping manipulate various countries' politics, and they can't sell the Oculus Rift to you. I mean, it's like,
whoever greenlit the Starbreeze HMD
I don't know what you're
should
thinking
immediately be fired. Immediately. Like, if they're still there, I don't know how they still have a job. That was one of the dumbest decisions I can remember in the industry in recent memory.
Yeah, I don't know why you would want to expose yourself in that realm.
Why? What is again, going back to Valve, what's the uptick? What's the win?
I mean, I get why Valve would have like aspirations to that, because like if you can corner the PC market on VR and like lock it into your Steam environment, like you've got like a really good like foothold on this new thing.
That's all predicated on VR actually exploding.
Right.
Though.
But in terms of like it making sense for that to be sort of one of the next steps, or one of a branch of your company, that makes sense for Valve. It makes sense for the company that owns Steam. But if you're just like the people who made Payday 2, it's like why? You're not even a hardware company. I mean,
I hate to say it. I mean, that company.
At least Valve partnered with HTC. You know, like HTC makes
and a partner. Yeah.
Or Oculus Rift was founded specifically to make that. But like a game developer deciding we're going to do a VR headset is like, what?
I mean, I wonder who told that CEO it was a good idea. Like their wife or husband?
I don't know.
Anybody else in the know would have told them.
At a certain point, I guess you could see like, it's like, oh, if we do a better job, then we could like swoop in and do it. But it's like, what makes you think the odds are in your favor?
A better job than a company like HTC that is a gigantic electronics company, or Sony. I mean,
Tech Bro is a hell of a drug.
Or Facebook, for that matter.
Yeah, I don't know.
So bad. So bad. Look, I almost did say like they deserve to go out of business. I don't really feel that way, because there's lots of good people that work there that had nothing to do with this crap.
It's also amazing that like after, I mean, I guess that would explain, if the headset stuff is all true, that would explain why Payday 2 wasn't floating them the way, because like Payday 2 seems really successful.
Oh, it is. But when you're dumping
dumping money into research for something that's never going to be anything,
tens of millions of dollars into R&D for a product that literally may have sold like 1,000.
Didn't even come out.
Right, but I bet you if it did, it would have been lucky to sell 1,000. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's really nutty, and I think Valve is smart enough to keep from getting in that position.
But also, Valve is big enough to absorb that hit.
That loss.
Same with like is HoloLens ever going to be anything? Probably not. But one of Microsoft's whole functions is to do R&D on things that never exist.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Like they're set up to absorb that. A game developer isn't.
Yeah.
It's
a huge mistake.
So I don't know. Like Valve is obviously big enough that it can afford to experiment. But like I think it's safe to consider the Steam Link thing something of a failed experiment in terms of mass penetration.
Steam Link, Steam machines, also a failure. I don't think that the Steam machine necessarily deserved to be a failure, because I think there could be a market there for that.
Right. Yeah.
But again, I mean, the problem
there was a way to play that hand right.
There was. The problem with the Steam machine thing was there was way too many manufacturers. There were way too many different versions. This one has 16 gigs of RAM. This one has 4. Yeah, it was just as complicated.
Your attempt to simplify this just made it as complicated as it's
even more, probably maybe even more complicated than it was before. So there is a way that they can make Steam boxes or Steam machines work. I absolutely believe it. Unfortunately, the well's kind of poisoned at this point, and I don't know if any company is going to be brave enough to kind of pony up and kind of front it.
Like the only thing I could think is to go, let some years pass, and let some years pass and figure out a way, make some partnerships, team up with NVIDIA for some really crazy discounted, situation. Make some Steam boxes at a decent price that have one model at a price you think is functional that can do the ray tracing thing.
Yeah.
Like,
the people that are going to buy a Steam box probably don't even care about that, though.
But they will care if you can show how much better it looks than like something equivalent on the PS4.
Yeah.
PS5, rather.
Yeah.
Because I think it's pretty safe to bet that the new consoles will not have ray tracing. It'd be a little too expensive. Because remember, consoles tend to use...
They kind of need to have
consoles tend to use... they might be able to use like a software solution, but I don't know if that's even feasible.
Probably not.
Console hardware tends to be a few years out of date, just optimized to the point that so like putting in cutting edge ray tracing stuff is going to inflate the price of something pretty hard, which I think is why Microsoft is going to ride the Xbox One X as long as they can to put some kind of hardware like that in there. And if PS5 does launch as early as it looks like it's going to launch, and then Microsoft pops out with his ray tracing machine that can like make things look like that demo versus things that look like what they're going to look like on PS5, like you're going to be like, oh damn, like that's a. I mean, not that graphics have ever won a console war, but like.
But it'll sway the evangelicals, the people like us who
influence
also, other people to buy stuff.
Right, and it will also do the thing like we saw this year, where all of a sudden games are being demoed on Xboxes.
Yep.
You want it to look as good as it can look.
You see those button prompts, and it all adds up. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
But none of that involves Valve right now, and I think they'd probably be wise for them to sort of like cut their losses, step back, and observe, and maybe make Half-Life 3.
What appears, I mean, all signs are pointing towards a big Half-Life announcement at the Game Awards.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be the VR thing. It's a prequel, apparently a Black Mesa prequel.
Yeah.
Which is not as exciting as actually finishing their damn story. Which seems to be a
I've
trend.
given up on that.
Seems to be a trend this episode between them and Darksiders.
Yeah, absolutely. The trend, as actually across the last 3 or 4 episodes of GameFace, is R.I.P. Rest in peace. Literally, we've had like 8 topics in the last month where something died or was taken off the market or whatever. There was 2 in this episode.
Yep.
We had Steam Link, and what was the other one? Oh, and Agent.
Agent, yeah.
It's like every episode there's like a couple of them. So it seems like there's as many things dying as being born in the industry these days. And a part of that could be just less. Again, on Pachter Factor, the episode we published yesterday for our patrons, he talks all about it, about how it's starting to mimic the movie industry, and there are just far less games being made now, bigger bets on each one.
Yep. So remember, in the golden age of the studio system, you had 300 to 400 movies coming out every year, and now you have like 150.
Yep, it's like
just
cut in half.
As you know, as the system breaks down and settles into this like kind of here's how we make the money, and these things we don't need anymore. You make fewer things, and then those things cost more and more to make, and then you have a point where you just can't afford to blow it. You know, you can't afford to make one that doesn't work properly. You know, but tons of studios went out of business because they made one bad movie.
Yeah, you make one bad game now.
Look at
if you're a
Kuroko.
studio, yeah.
Kuroko is the logo you see in front of the Terminator movies and in front of the Rambo movie. I mean, that was the action movie, studio.
Yeah.
And one bad movie, gone.
That's all it took. Yeah,
Took them right out.
Games can do that as well. No doubt about it. You have one bomb, one big budget bomb.
Or along the lines of Red Dead Redemption, go Google Heaven's Gate.
Yeah.
The movie Heaven's Gate. That's a fascinating story of hubris and crazy people. It's a Western from the early 80s.
It wasn't the Heaven's Gate that weird cult?
Yes, it was. But Heaven's Gate is also the name of a Western that was made by the guy who directed The Deer Hunter. Who, because of the success of The Deer Hunter, he got to make whatever he wanted to make, and he decided to make this crazy Western where, like, you got to read about it. It's one of the most famous disasters in film history, and it basically ended his career and bankrupted a studio. And I mean, it was stuff like they built a whole town out of the middle of nowhere, and the way they built it, they could only shoot for like an hour a day because of where the sun was. And at one point, he had to move it 5 feet to the left. It was crazy. Look up Heaven's Gate. It's great. It's a great story.
All right, let's move on. We're going to move to our last topic of this week's show. We're going to talk about Battlefield 5. I talked about this game back when I was on the beta, probably a month and a half, 2 months ago, something like that. So I've talked about the multiplayer a ton already. I think I talked about it for like 20 minutes in that episode. Obviously, the final game is out now, and I do have a couple other things I'm going to say about multiplayer.
That feels like it came out of kind of a very quiet place, too. Like, I haven't seen commercials for it. I haven't seen a lot of talk about it. It feels like Battlefield 5 sort of snuck out.
I think that's kind of what happens when you delay it like a month.
Yeah.
Like a month before it's supposed to come out.
And also, it's still kind of coming out half done.
Yeah. I would say, and look, the lower third does say half-baked beauty, but I would argue that it's not as incomplete, I think, as the perception is.
Maybe not.
Because it's still, even as it's released, a really big game. There is a ton of game in the launch release of this. It's not like, hey, here's just like Control and Team Deathmatch, and you'll see the rest later on. Like, it is a full multiplayer suite, and it is a full single-player suite. The accoutrements are the things that are missing, the kind of the bonus stuff.
And the last part of the campaign.
Yeah, well, that's actually coming pretty soon. So Combined Arms, which is a cooperative mode. That's coming later. They haven't announced a date for that yet. The Firestorm Battle Royale mode is also still to come. And people could argue, but yeah, that's the hot stuff now. That's what people really care about. I don't agree with that. I think the vast majority of people who play Battlefield play it to play multiplayer. So I'm just going to go through some of the stuff that I've picked up on playing multiplayer that was different from my experience playing the beta. The first thing I would say about multiplayer that I've experienced playing the final version that I didn't really get in the beta is squads. Squads
didn't work right in the beta. That's right.
They do now, and it can be both a blessing and a curse. Spawning has been a problem in first-person shooters ever since they went online, and Black Ops does some spawning stuff that helps. There's one item that in Black Ops that you can choose for your loadout that will let people spawn on it, and it's probably the most popular item in the entire game because it basically gives you that same Battlefield experience of spawning on a squad or a squad leader in Call of Duty, which you just really haven't had. They're called like TAC deploy beacons, and they are just used constantly, and it completely changes the game. Spawning has been an issue in Call of Duty forever. It isn't anymore, thanks to the TAC deploy beacon. And I'm getting the same experience with Battlefield 5. The spawning in the game is insane. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's 2-on-1, and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to die. I just know it, and you're getting ready to reset. And next thing you know, 3 guys spawn on you. And they just take out those 2 guys, and you go on your way, and you get that nice rush, that feeling of adrenaline. Sometimes you're on the other side of it, where it's 2 of you against 1 of them, and next thing you know, the 5 guys just spawn right in front of you, or 4 guys spawn right in front of you, and it's like, then it's on. It's very unpredictable, but it keeps you from having to deal with stupid crap like spawn campers, which in Battlefield, campers in general are a much bigger problem than they are in a game like Call of Duty. And I think that is what's frustrated me and been different for me the most playing multiplayer in the final version, is that the game is just a sniper's paradise. And because there are so many players, if the other team has 4 or 5 snipers just scoping out, and look, even though control is kind of willy-nilly and there's points all over the map, there's a front. There's the place where the 2 teams meet, because you both start on 2 different ends and you rush, and maybe you get one on their side, a point on their side, and they get a point on your side, but ultimately there's still that line of friction, that front line. And if you have a couple snipers sitting on that front line, the game is awful, because you literally can't leave cover. You run out, you get shot and die. And there are so many times playing the multiplayer in this where I'm just pinned down and there's nothing I can do. You're like, where's our snipers? Why aren't our snipers like fighting? You can run 2 miles in this game and then just get shot in the head by a sniper. I mean, it's typical Battlefield stuff. And I think that's what people need to know about this game, is it's freaking Battlefield. It's not some weird thing where there's like, I think a lot of people had this misconception that there were going to be like characters running around with like prosthetic like legs and arms, and there's going to be like cyborg like looking. It's that I will say this, that debut trailer was misleading. That first trailer that got everybody into a tizzy was very misleading as far as tone and aesthetic is concerned.
Well, yeah, the beta felt just like Battlefield.
It's just Battlefield.
I liked the beta. I didn't like it enough to pay full price for it, although I'm thinking about getting it for $30 at Target. But like, I enjoyed it. I thought it felt heavy and weighty, and I felt like I was alive long enough to do some things before I got killed most of the time, and like, I liked a lot of the weird little tricks they were pulling on the life bar thing. Like, kept people a little more honest about stuff, and people were sticking their heads out and putting them back down for cover, and like,
no rebounding health.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Health packs.
I thought it worked pretty well.
And we talked ad nauseum about the whole like the downed and revive thing, where you can like call out for help, or you can just end the meter very quickly. And that hasn't really changed from the beta. Like, still nobody hardly ever revives me. And so now when I die, I pretty much just hold the right trigger to just completely deplete the meter. So
I thought it was funny when if I'd resurrect someone, the one thing I could count on was that if I got downed later, that same person would resurrect me every time.
Yeah.
Like there was always kind of these weird like sort of like temporary brotherhoods that were formed when like if the instant I pick somebody up, they're like, oh, okay, I'll help you.
Now I'm gonna help you. Yeah. There might be some of that, but when you're playing on like a 30-some person team,
Right.
I don't even remember all the people on my team.
Well, I certainly found in the beta that I spent most of my time around the squad. Like those 3 other people, like I saw them more than everybody else for sure. So if you were nice to your squad people, before again, like you said before, I don't use the headset really, but like there was an understanding.
Yeah. What I like too about how the squads work in this game is like with the tag deploy beacon in Call of Duty, like you look at the map and you can kind of tell if there's like a lot of action going on around the tag deploy beacon. But in this, you can preview every member of your party, so you can switch through every single soldier that's in your crew to figure out which one do I want to spawn on, which one is advantageous for our team, which one is in danger, should I stay away from. So it gives you a lot more flexibility to do that than you can in a lot of other shooters. But there are some things that I did not even discover in the beta, in the multiplayer, that I've found now that I'm playing the final version. And one of those is called the Squad Reinforcement System. It was something that I was noticing going on in the beta, but I had no idea what it actually was or how it worked. And basically, as you work as a squad and you get kills or there's other things that you can do that will add to it as well, your squad gains points. And then you can spend the leader of your squad can spend those points on things. So it can be something as simple as a pile of sandbags, which may seem dumb until you're defending a point. And we've all been there. You're defending a point, you're basically laying a bare ass on the ground, a group of the other team runs up, and they just shoot you right in the head. Well, you can spend those points that you've earned with your squad to build up defenses anywhere you want. You can put them wherever you want, but typically where you put them is at a flag point or whatever where you're trying to defend. It even goes so far as to, once you get enough points, you can throw down like ammo crates. So if people are running out of ammo, and in this game, ammo is pretty scarce. It seems that they've weighted the game so that the one class that gives ammo has to do its job. And I kind of like that because it makes the classes important, and it means that you need one of every class on your team or it's going to be tough to succeed.
I definitely felt in the beta that they were coming up with new ideas to force people to play the game properly.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. So you have the squad reinforcement. Eventually you can call in like strikes. It's a little bit like Call of Duty. Like once you get enough points, you can call in like huge mortar strikes on the enemy, but the only person that can do it is the squad leader. And so that leaves some people out to dry. And it also means that your squad leader has to be on it because there's another system called the fortification system that is what I was talking about earlier with the ammo and the weapon crates and whatever. And again,
no one's coming to save you, dude.
No, that's not
Just
happening.
Give it up.
Yeah. But once again, it's the squad leader. And the problem, too, one thing that I found is that it seems like the squad leader gets all the rewards for stuff. Like, they get all the XP from, like, the mortar strikes, any kills that they get from that. So squad leader is a very important position in this game. And if you have a crappy one, you're going to be in trouble. And if you have a good one, it can completely change everything. And I think, depending on your perspective, you'll think that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Probably depending on whether you're the squad leader or not.
Well, that or depending on whether you like to be a leader or you'd like to just be the person who just falls in line and goes out and gets kills or whatever.
I'm the one person who enjoyed being the commander in the remember when they did that with Battlefield?
Yeah.
Where you could play like with the iPad and like, just poke at things.
It's like an RTS
I enjoyed
kinda.
that.
Yeah. What else? There's 8 maps, 6 game modes. The modes are all pretty typical, stuff that you would expect. The really cool stuff's coming later. Gear unlocks, they're not crazy like day glow colored trench coat. They're literally it's a military game. It's Battlefield. All the freak outs and the fervor over like the female, it was all just phooey. It all to me didn't matter. And I don't know if DICE pulled back and pulled out some content from the game because it just didn't feel like dealing with the idiots But
If they did, I bet they'll put it back in as they expand.
it's possible. It
like-
could be something that
So
comes
it feels
later.
like people have less judgmental about like expansion stuff. Like that's when you get to play around more.
It's so funny. It's so dumb, but you're right. That's kind of the way it works.
Like you could put a jetpack in this thing for the third expansion, nobody would even notice.
You're right. As I mentioned, there are the 4 classes. One thing I found was that you can only have one loadout per class. Like I typically only play Assault. And so when I play Assault, I like to have like one gun that has a scope so I can kind of snipe. And I like to have one that just has a red dot sight for more close quarters maps. You can't. You only have one loadout saved per class. Maybe I'm wrong. I could not figure out a way to save a second loadout. Maybe someone in the chat has been playing longer than me and they figured it out. I could not figure it out. In all honesty, it just plays like it's Battlefront 2. It really is. Like, it's gorgeous at times, but there's also terrible LOD issues. Like, you see all the gravel like drawing in like 10 feet in front of you. When you're standing still, it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. But it has big-time LOD issues, probably the worst I've seen in, I don't know, like a year and a half or 2 years.
Frostbite's not good at that.
It's really not. I don't know why, but even with this game, they were not able to get it to work right. What else? But it did. Like, the gunplay, not really Battlefront 2, but everything else, the look of it, the way characters move, you can tell it's built basically on the same technology as Battlefront. But look, it's different than Call of Duty like it always has been. It's more team-oriented. It's more vehicle-oriented, bigger maps, bigger scale. But I still think I like Call of Duty Black Ops 4 more. The traversal is way better in Call of Duty. And that is one thing where I feel like they've taken a step back in this game, not just in multiplayer, but just across the board, is the feeling of the guns. And I know that DICE says it's done a lot of work on the guns. I think they feel and sound like crap. Like, a part of it is the force feedback is terrible. Half of the guns, when you fire them, there's no rumble at all. Yet a tank will ride by beside you, and it'll rumble because a tank rode beside you. And force feedback makes a huge difference in shooters. If you get it timed and you got it nailed, it makes it feel like you're firing a gun. And the guns in this game, like the SMGs and the assault rifles, just feel like nothing, like you're not firing anything. And that drives me crazy. While you have more options for traversal as far as, okay, you can lay on your back and you can use your knees as a tripod. There's a better dodging mechanic in this. Like, you can dodge in any direction, like dart really quickly. You can also run while crouched. It's like the roadie run. There's more options for traversal, but it all just feels wrong. And it doesn't feel solid and like you're in control of it. Like, taking cover behind something. You really don't know if your head is below a wall, because if you take one step, you raise up like 2 feet. Which isn't the way a human being works, but that's the way the game works. So, gunplay, I think it's a step back. I know that they said they worked on it and tried to improve it because people complained about it in the past. I think it's a step back. The traversal and things like that, not up to scratch as far as I'm concerned. But you have all these other things that it does that other shooters don't do that make up for it.
It's always been kind of the balance between Call of Duty and Battlefield is Call of Duty goes for kind of the traversal feel, and Battlefield goes for scope.
Yep. It's more realistic by a mile. But as we've said on this show a billion times, realism doesn't always equal fun. So that's multiplayer. Now I'm going to talk about the single player stuff, which is what we're seeing right now. It's called War Stories. And you played the last Battlefield. You enjoyed the War Stories stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like... Basically how it works is each mission is an hour-ish long, and it focuses on one unheralded hero from the war. So the first one you play as is this guy who gets busted out of prison because Churchill had come to the conclusion that the war that they were going to fight, they were going to need people who are willing to fight dirty. And so apparently
literally the beginning of Gears of War.
No, you're right.
Break the badass out of jail so you can stand a chance.
That's exactly how this starts. It actually how it starts is what we were seeing at first, which was they take you through like all these eras, through like Algeria and blah blah blah, and it's just like this little training thing. And literally, you spend like 5 minutes shooting, and then 5 minutes in a plane, and then 5 minutes in a tank.
It's pretty much the same as the beginning of Battlefield 1.
Yeah. So you do that, and then the first proper mission is where you play as the guy who gets busted out of jail. There are, including the training one I just talked about, there are 4 missions right now for the single-player stuff, and then there's a 5th one that launches on December 4th, I think. And I don't know if that's going to be like a regular schedule or if that 4th one is the last one that's ever coming out. I'm not really...
I think that's just the last one.
Okay.
It was supposed to be part of the initial release, but they just weren't going to have it done in time. It's the one where he plays the Nazis.
Nah.
He plays a Wehrmacht...
The controversial one.
He plays a Wehrmacht tank crew that's starting to have doubts about the grand cause.
Yeah.
Which was a fair number, I would imagine.
Yeah,
at that point in the war.
absolutely. I would say that... So here's the thing. It's like we said earlier, the scope is bigger. It seems like the options are bigger. But when you're playing the single player in this, it feels that way because you're in this gigantic like open world, and you get a waypoint on your map. You're like, okay, well, I can probably go to that waypoint, and I can approach this mission any way I want to. Oh, no. Even though you're in an open world, the whole game is set up so that there is one way to actually get through a mission.
That is such a DICE thing.
They've
been doing that since Bad Company.
It is so lame. If you try to flank or come in, you just get slaughtered. And then suddenly you stumble upon this one soldier that's facing the wrong direction, basically just begging you to stealth kill it. And once you do that, you realize, oh, this is the way they want me to go through. And then it's just easy as crap. So part of the game is figuring out what the game wants you to do. It's like, how does it want me to start this mission? What path does it want me to take through this mission? And if you deviate out of that, you're gonna die. That's all there is to it. So it's an open world campaign that is incredibly linear. It's like a juxtaposition of the two.
That's very much how DICE has gone about the single player. I mean, that was in Battlefront 2 as well.
Yeah,
The campaign
it was,
there where, like, if you didn't go down kind of the imaginary golden path, like, you were going to get reamed. Like, don't deviate. Which is annoying, because it's like, there should... And for the
you see this gorgeous open world, and
right.
like,
well, for the
and they
counterpoint,
also park cars everywhere, and like.
Well, the counterpoint, look at Titanfall 2. Like, you could do that. I mean, that wasn't as open.
Yeah.
But you could do that any way you frickin' wanted.
You absolutely could. Yep.
Which makes me wonder what we're gonna get if Respawn really is making that next Battlefield game.
Maybe a great Battlefield.
Maybe Bad Company 3.
Yeah, that would be freaking awesome. And I'll tell you another
that would be up their alley, I would think.
It would be. And you want to know what makes me even more excited for another Bad Company? Is the destruction in this game is awesome.
Yeah, I do like that.
Awesome.
So I've spent a long time missing, because Bad Company 2's multiplayer had the best destruction of anything in the series.
Not anymore.
And like just those Gold Rush matches were like, by the end of it, like the building you were in was just flat. It was a you and rubble and the 2 crates you're defending. It was like everything changed constantly because of what people were throwing at the environment. And like I like a lot of what I'm seeing here.
This is a return to form to Bad Company.
Finally, the Frostbite engine plays off.
Some of it may even be like a little over exaggerated. Like there was one time where an enemy ducked behind this big like concrete silo, and I tried to shoot him when he stuck his head out, and instead I shot like the edge of the silo, and like 8 bricks fell out of the side of the silo. So they are definitely going way above and beyond where the destruction has been before, and it makes a huge difference across the whole game, not just multiplayer, also in single player. I mean, you can shoot a rocket into a building in single player and have the building crumble down on the enemies. It's amazing, and it really does completely change the dynamic of both single player and multiplayer. And it's also refreshing to see. I mean, DICE spent some time and money on this single player content. I mean,
need to work on the hair in this engine.
Yeah, it is what it is. But the pores on the face, Matt.
Yeah, but everybody kind of still looks like they've got the Mass Effect Andromeda hair.
Yeah, no, you're right. But so after having Black Ops 4, which had no campaign whatsoever, it makes you wonder, okay, did DICE take a break and just kind of put whatever out there? Oh, no. Like, this is honestly the best campaign that I've played in a Battlefield, maybe ever. Of course, that bar is
I don't know what that's really saying.
Really low. Really low. Their campaigns have been terrible.
Battlefield 3's campaign still makes me angry.
I couldn't get through Battlefield 1's stuff
either. I like 1 okay.
I made it through the first couple missions. I just didn't care after that. I have enjoyed this from beginning to end.
I really wanted to get to the Lawrence of Arabia stuff. So although I guess you can just pick whatever you want whenever you want in that series. I didn't need to get through the rest of the game to get to Lawrence of Arabia, but
Yeah, you can play the war stories in any order you want. It doesn't matter because they're not congruent.
Right.
They're not like in sequence or anything. They're just these disparate stories told of.
whoops.
Yeah, what's up with that? And
Frostbite.
there are glitches. I haven't had a ton. I had one case where an explosive that I needed to use didn't spawn, and I had to like reload a save or whatever. But for the most part, like people were saying this game's really buggy. I honestly haven't had a lot of issues with it. It's
Frostbite does mud
playing
really
PS4. I haven't had a lot of bugs. Other people have complained about it a lot, but
That's the thing I think I've admired the most visually about the last few Battlefield games is the mud.
yeah, the game is gorgeous, man. I mean, it's for the scope and the scale of the world is gorgeous. The textures sometimes don't look great. The animation, like the human animation in the game, looks a little goofy at times. But when you take everything into consideration, it is an absolutely gorgeous game. And all this footage was recorded on a base PS4. This is not PS4 Pro or Xbox One X. Yeah, I think it's great. I don't know why all the hate has erupted over this game. Like, sure, you can buy it at full price now, and you wait a month or two, and then you get Battle Royale. Maybe that keeps people from buying it. But man, there's more than enough content in this game to hold you over until the Battle Royale mode launches.
There's a bunch of sales on it right now.
And it's completely different. It's like a lot of people will say, oh, well, I need to choose. Either I'm buying Call of Duty this year or I'm buying Battlefield this year. I don't get that at all. They're both shooters, but they couldn't play any differently. Literally, they could not play any differently. I'm loving Black Ops 4. I'm also loving Battlefield 5 for completely different reasons. Sure, you hold guns and they go pew-pew, but to me, that's really where the similarities end. Will this replace Black Ops 4 as my dead time game? Probably not, because you can't...
matches are forever in this game.
Yeah, and that is really the big drawback of this game, is the commitment that you need. I honestly quit probably 70% of matches before they finish. Because you just get to a point where your team is down like 200 tickets, and you're like, what am I doing? It's one of the most soulless moments when you're like, we're losing by 80 tickets, and there's 12 minutes left, and it doesn't look like the other team's going to hit the limit in that amount of time, and just realizing that you're just wasting your life. You are.
Yeah.
You're wasting your life. And that, to me, is the biggest detriment of this game, the in and out. The in and out is really long. It's like waiting for the match to finish and then waiting for one to end and for everything to load up for the next one. That's where Call of Duty has this franchise licked. Mm-hmm. Would I trade a more user-friendly experience for maybe just 48 players instead of 64 and a smaller map? Yeah, I would.
It's also weird considering how like the watchword of the success of Battle Royale has been in large part how fast you're in and out of those matches.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I've been talking about this forever, that it's one of the hidden secrets of Call of Duty that makes it so popular, is die, respawn, game over, game start. There's no... And that was my concern when I played Black Ops 4's beta, remember?
Right.
Like, it was taking forever to turn over matches. That was all fixed for retail.
See, that was a problem in the beta of Battlefield 5 was... Part of the problem, it was like 90 seconds or something between rounds, even, not little matches. And there was a point where like, you can't let me think about too much about what I'm doing between. Like, you got to get me back in before I can think about like, oh, I should be doing other things.
Well, you're also going to think, hey, this next match is going to last 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no small commitment with this game if you're going to play multiplayer. That's the bottom line. It is not a bite-sized junk food game. It is a commitment that you're going to make for at least 30 minutes every time you sit down to play it. So all these things just need to be considered when you're trying to figure out whether you should buy this or Black Ops. I'm not really saying one game is better than the other. I enjoy one more than the other just because of the style of game that I like. I'm just trying to give you all the data, so if you're going to buy one shooter this year, you have all the ammunition you need to make an informed choice. And some people are going to like Battlefield more. Some people are going to like Call of Duty more. To me, they're both great games. And I don't think you can go wrong with either one if you enjoy that style of shooter. So there you go. That's Battlefield 5. And unlike a lot of other games, I think this will be the last time we talk about it on GameFace. A lot of times we'll circle back, but shooters generally don't sort of provide that opportunity.
Yeah, they don't have a lot to say beyond the initial bang.
Nope. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So It's time for our trailer of the week. As regulars on the stream know, this is a time for you guys to get your questions in for Q&A. Our trailer of the week this week is for another game you mentioned earlier about how like Battlefield just kind of came out and nobody knows. Here's another game that's coming out that no one's really kind of on the radar, and that's Just Cause 4.
I can't decide. I mean, I like Just Cause in general, but I'm so skittish about this one. I don't know, and I do know why.
No,
like,
you have very good reason to feel skittish about this game, Matt, because it snuck up on me, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, like Just Cause is coming out in a week, like that's a big game. I should like get it now and start playing it. And I contacted Square Enix, and they're like, oh, we haven't sent out review code yet. And excuse me, sometimes when I hear this, it's a lie, and the PR person is just trying to be nice to me. And they've really already sent it out to like the big guys, like GameSpot and IGN or Eurogamer or whatever. And they'll just tell me they haven't sent it out yet, so that I don't know, maybe they don't want me to feel bad. I don't know.
They haven't sent it out to you.
Pretty much. But they'll say we haven't sent it out yet. And so when I got that from Square Enix, which honestly Square Enix is usually really honest with me, but when they said that, I was like, oh, right, I'm sure GameSpot's review will be posted in an hour or whatever. And it didn't. And I was like, okay, maybe they're being honest. And then I saw a tweet today from IGN's reviews editor, and IGN has not received Just Cause 4 for review.
It's disconcerting.
And folks, if you've learned anything by watching me and Matt over the years, it's that when a publisher doesn't send out a game early for review, it's very rarely a good thing.
Yeah, I also knew something was up with Darksiders 3 because the review embargo was the morning of the 26th, and the game came out on the 25th.
Yep.
Like, you're right.
Wait a minute.
Okay, you go live the night before the reviews come out. That's interesting.
So anyway, the trailer of the week this week is for Just Cause 4 because I feel like if you're like me, it's kind of been slipping under your radar, and you probably forgot that it's coming in like 7 days. And you probably still would have forgot because you're not going to see any reviews before it comes out, it doesn't look like. So not only is this a trailer for Just Cause 4, it is a live action trailer. Let's roll it.
Cadiz, tell me how my base was destroyed.
Oh, he was everywhere.
He?
Crazy man.
He came from the sky.
Liar! Do you think I'm stupid?
To be fair, our fuel tank placement is a problem.
Okay. And then there was a tornado. And then that is when he landed inside of the base like a panther, and he shot Carlos.
And me too.
He tied me to a weather balloon.
He was very creative.
There's no way one man did all that you say. And when I find out what really happened, you will wish he had killed you.
Wow.
Bro, we're on the YouTube.
That's a pretty funny trailer. Pretty well done. We got tons of questions rolling into the chat. We're going to answer as many as we can before we get up out of here. Here's one from Vincent. Wasn't Starfield basically announced like Agent, based on a name and a pedigree? Related, which launches first, Elder Scrolls 6 or GTA 6?
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point. Vincent, you're right. That is a good analogy. That is one other game that kind of...
I think Elder Scrolls 6 is a 2024 game. I would bet GTA 6 is later than that.
I honestly, I don't Agree. I think they've been working on GTA for a long freaking time.
I don't think they've even started GTA 6.
Oh, they absolutely have.
No way.
Absolutely.
They were making Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, but it's not like they can just work on one
Right.
thing at a time. They have
But-
studios all over the world.
Yeah, but Rockstar North makes GTA.
Yeah.
That group of guys in Scotland make GTA. They are not
Absolutely.
letting anyone else make that.
Yeah, but that group in Scotland weren't the main developers for Red Dead Redemption 2.
They were.
No, they weren't.
I thought they were.
No, if
Who
you look,
was?
it doesn't say Rockstar North. It's literally Rockstar. It's
they
like a
seem-
worldwide.
Right.
Pactor thinks that they still have a studio in San Diego.
I thought they fired everybody.
I
in
thought
San
they
Diego
did
when Red Dead
too,
1 got finished.
But I'll say one thing: he knows a lot more about Take-Two and Rockstar than I do. And so when he says stuff, I'm like, okay, you're probably right. He says that they still have the studio down there.
I think GTA 6 is a very long way off.
I mean, to answer his question,
I mean,
which
Bethesda
comes
can delay
first,
stuff like crazy, but like,
I think GTA comes first before Elder Scrolls. I think we get GTA in like 2 or 3 years.
I think Starfield is 2020 or 2021, and I think Elder Scrolls is 3 to 4 years after it.
I think I think it goes Starfield, GTA, Elder Scrolls in that order.
They took 8 years to make RDR2. I don't see GTA 6.
Well, we're already at
That's
5
soon.
years.
Yeah, but I think you're underestimating how much Rockstar North was involved with this. I think they focus on one thing at a time at this point. Also, Rockstar North has been working on GTA Online regularly.
Yeah.
They have to find a way to transition from that. I think GTA 6 is a long way out. I think GTA 6 might be 7 or 8 years away.
Okay, here's a question from J. Reed Vic 7. You may be able to answer this.
I mean, so might Elder Scrolls. You know what I mean? Who knows what the hell?
Yeah.
Maybe Starfield comes out bombs because they're using the same technology again, and they're like, well, we got to revamp everything, and it takes forever to make it.
Or maybe they just completely trash Elder Scrolls 6 because of the response that Fallout 76 is getting.
I don't see why they'd do that.
Because they're saying that it's in the same engine and people are freaking out about it.
Yeah, I mean, they might have to start from scratch again.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
I feel like they haven't done a whole lot on Elder Scrolls 6 yet. Like,
No, I don't even. Just made a teaser trailer and that's it.
Yeah.
J. Reed Vic 7.
They've talked about it at lunch a bit.
Yeah, exactly. This one's probably for you, Matt, because your girl's a huge Overwatch player. After about a year, I'm still not great at Overwatch overall and still understand very little about the meta, how characters match up, etc. Not very good at it overall, yet I'm an amazing DVA player.
Diva.
I've always called her DVA for some reason.
No, her name is, she's Diva.
Is there a character or class you guys have been great with in a game or franchise you otherwise wouldn't have considered yourself serviceable at? That's a good question. MOBAs.
No, I'm not good at any MOBAs.
Matt can think about it while I give my answer. MOBAs, I have found that the characters that I'm good at are the characters I don't want to play. Like, I thought when I started playing MOBAs like League of Legends or Dota 2 that I would want to play the melee characters, which I didn't even know at the time were called tanks, but the tanks. The guys who can get up close, maybe cast a up-close spell, just beat on the opponents and take a beating. I thought that would be the character that I would want to play. As it turns out, I'm much better at, and I enjoy playing the ranged characters. And I like having the distance from danger in MOBAs for some reason. I'll play shooters all day. You can come up and shoot me in the face with a shotgun. I'm like, whatever. But in MOBAs, I like having the distance between my character and the others, and so I always play with ranged characters. So that is one genre and 2 games in particular where I ended up playing as classes or characters that normally in other games I would not play.
Battlefield Bad Company 2, I was a really good sniper.
Oh, yeah?
And I have never been a good sniper in anything else
Me
ever.
either. I hate snipers.
But
Dude,
for some reason, the way Bad Company 2's like sighting mechanic worked, where you could spot people and people could spot them for you on your squad, for whatever reason, my brain understood the bullet drop difference between where the marker was, and I could snipe people over hills.
Yeah. You just got into that zone where you could calculate it in your brain.
One time I was playing in the game lab, and Abby, who used to work at Respawn, she's
Abby
now
at
Media Molecule. She's
for
working
Dreams.
with Dreams.
You've seen her on stage recently.
Yeah. we were playing, and she's really good at shooters. She's one of the
better
best,
than me at Call of
Duty. She's one of
Duty.
the best shooter players in the world that I've ever seen.
Well, that's definitely not true.
But as far as anyone I've
She's
met in
good,
person,
though.
she's like it's embarrassing to play with her.
She's good, yeah.
And she was like, "Wow, you're ripping shit up with the snipe." I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Sometimes
but I was
fine.
But I was really good with snipers in that game, and I've never been good with snipers ever again in any other shooter.
Have you ever been good with one before?
No,
Yeah.
never. I mean,
I
guess
suck. I hate snipers and shooters.
I was
Hate 'em.
functional with in facing worlds on Unreal Tournament, but that was everybody was doing it
Right.
in that game. But like that was the only time where like I was like number one on the leaderboards regularly. I was like I was not dying over and over. I was doing very well. And then the next Battlefield came out and I sucked again. Like it was whatever that was about that one game, that one Bad Company 2, it just clicked.
There are people in Black Ops 4 that are just mind-blowing with a sniper rifle. They don't shoot from far away. They run full speed and are quick scoping as they're running. Like
Yeah.
I
I've seen some
honestly
videos.
wonder if they're cheating. Like I don't know how they do it. It's just headshot, 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 headshot. Like how?
I feel like it has to be like you play it often enough that you know that if you move the controller or move the mouse this amount and then do this, it will do this at this point, and that will be what you need to hit the button to do that. I mean, it becomes automatic in a way that some fighting game combos are automatic.
I mean, look, I can scope up somebody quick. Like, and you're right, like what you were saying earlier about how you learn how to work with the auto aim. I mean, part of Call of Duty is get the reticle close enough, then snap in, and then fine tune and fire. And your muscle memory gets where it's just one motion. You
I
just
mean,
do
the
it.
main thing is you're not playing this game 14 hours a day.
Yeah, but these quick scopers, Matt, I would never, ever be able to do that. Ever.
I think you would if you played it 14 hours a day for months.
It is
like,
mind-blowing.
That's all they do. That's all
guess.
these guys do. That's what they do all the time. I've seen crazy stuff on streams where, I've been watching, I highly recommend this if you go look up the YouTube channel Summoning Salt. He's done a series of videos that show the progression of speedrun world records for different games. And kind of go through the years of in the early 2000s, the speedrun record was this. And then people figure this out, and figure this out, and figure this out. And especially like the Donkey Kong 64 one, it starts with the record was like 4 minutes and 50 seconds. And
Are you kidding me?
no. Well, originally it was like 4 hours and something, and then they cut it down and cut it down, cut it down. And by the end of it, people are it was 4 hours.
Okay.
And they're cutting it.
Like
they're
4
cutting it down, cutting it
minutes.
down, cutting it down. By the end of the video, and currently the top world record is like 24 minutes and
Oh
something
my
seconds.
God, that
Like,
game is
but-
gigantic.
But they're
They figure out the bare minimum they need.
not bare
and then
minimum.
Glitches.
They skip everything. You don't have to get a gold banana. You don't have to you get like basically the speed run of Donkey Kong 64 now is
glitching
all these
through.
different glitches. You have to get 2 of the keys, turn those in, and then you go straight to the final boss fight. But to do that requires like
Crazy
glitch tricks
scale.
that are like 1 frame.
And you have to
Like,
pull
and
off
you have to pull them off
5 or
flawlessly.
6 of them
But
in a row. Yeah.
And it's like you can get and like
That's
you watch
skill,
or you watch
yeah.
like the Super Mario Brothers 1 runs where guys can do 1 pixel, 1 frame tricks to clip through various things, and they do it every time.
Yeah.
And early on, you see them like I had to do it 1,000 times before I got it. But like once they get it, sometimes these guys can just do it, and it's like, yeah, you can actually be that good.
Yeah, you can.
If you do it long enough,
Quick
often
scoping
enough.
though, just it's insane, dude. Like just to be able to headshot, it's like okay.
But
shoot
think
me,
about
shoot me
how
in-
much
Shoot 8
you
guys
do
in
it.
the chest like this, sure. Like I might be able to get to where I can do. It's headshot, 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 headshot. Like slide on your knees while you're sliding, headshot. Like it's insane what these guys do. Like it blows. I've been playing Call of Duty hardcore for like 12 years, and it still blows my mind. And I still swear they're cheating somehow. It's
No,
like
they just it's just
it's
all they do.
crazy. It's
You
really
don't,
insane.
you don't play it enough to be at that level.
guess
I will
not.
never play anything enough to be
I
at
hope
that level.
I did. Because, dude, it would take me till I was like 90, and then I would start dealing
And you
with
gotta-
like the degradation of my reflexes.
Like the hardcore stuff, like level, especially like the streamers and stuff. Like you don't understand. I mean, there's guys that play Star Citizen 12 to 16 hours a day on stream. There's like, the Summoning Salt show about the Super Mario Brothers 1. They break down this one guy that was trying to beat the 1 record, and he made 6,000 attempts. 6,000, and of those, he only got to like the last level for the last level to beat Bowser and get the record. He got there like 40 times. That's how like precise and how constant and how hard all that is. It's like, the people that are that good at things, like that's all they do. It's all I don't have the focus to be that good at anything.
I don't care enough. I mean, that's really what.
But
it
I mean,
comes
that's
down to.
true of like if like Ricky Jay, the magician Ricky Jay died this past week, and you watch a bunch of his videos. Look up Ricky Jay and his 52 assistants on YouTube. It's one of the most amazing magic specials ever made. He is a sleight of hand master on the level that maybe 10 people in the history of the humanity have been.
Yeah.
But it's all he ever did. It's
just
all he
practiced
did from when he
all
was
the-
4 years old. He was
Yeah.
on television performing magic when he was 7.
And you're
it's
right.
All
Look, there
he's
are
done.
things that I've done in my life that when I started trying to do them, I thought there was no way I was going to
Yeah,
do it.
the
And
guys who
then
can
I did,
headshot snipe from like a kneeling position while moving, it's because they've done it 10,000 times before, and now they're good enough to do it like that.
Nutty.
I mean, I'm sure some of them are cheating too, but like I know a few.
I played on
a few
PS4.
of them are really
like,
doing
they're
it.
probably not cheating.
They're probably not. Yeah.
I mean, if it was PC, I'd be more skeptical. Joaquin Dragoon, what do you guys think of the Amazon fail with the Kind of Funny guys? What is that?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Fill us in. Maybe it happened during today or something while we were setting up for the show. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it. Super Cordon Blue. When do you think Blizzard will start planning on Overwatch 2? You think the current game has a few more years left on it? I bought 2 copies, by the way. LOL.
Blizzard has already said that Overwatch is a 10-year game.
Yeah, they said that. They've been on the record saying
So
that.
2025, they might start
Yeah.
on Overwatch 2.
And I don't think they'll ever get rid of the original. I think they'll just
No.
make it completely free, and they'll just keep making money off cosmetics, and then they'll
It'll
charge.
become Overwatch Classic.
Yep. And they'll just charge for Overwatch 2.
Yeah. But it's a long way away.
Honestly, I mean, do they really need to release Overwatch 2, or do they just need to completely revamp the graphics? I mean, if you make Overwatch 2, are you going to get rid of all those characters?
Kingdom Hearts.
No
Amazon
way.
Kingdom Hearts. I get. Okay.
What?
Not Kind of Funny. Kingdom Hearts.
Oh.
They were supposed to show a new Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer, and they couldn't for some reason.
Who couldn't?
Amazon. They couldn't. They said they couldn't show it. Something happened, and they weren't able to show the new trailer
Wait a minute. Why would Amazon show a trailer?
because they had an exclusive to show a trailer, and then they didn't.
Wait, what? Why would Amazon have an exclusive to show a trailer?
Because Amazon wants to get in on this shit, man.
Wait, they're doing content? Amazon?
Amazon's been doing content forever. Amazon Prime.
What?
They're showing video stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're doing that's like TV shows, though.
Yeah, but like they were supposed to drop a new Kingdom Hearts trailer, and they didn't, and there was a whole thing about it.
So what's related to Kind of Funny, though?
Nothing. I don't know where you got Kind of Funny from.
It's related to it.
Where?
Right there.
Where?
Joaquin Dragoon. What do you guys think of the Amazon fail with the Kind of Funny guys?
I didn't know Kind of Funny was involved. But I guess they were supposed to sponsor. Maybe they're supposed
Maybe
to
what
sponsor it or
happened
something?
was Kind of Funny was supposed to get the trailer, and the wires got crossed, and they gave it to Amazon or something. I don't know.
No, it was a thing with like a exclusive something, like a pre-order thing, and you were supposed to get. It was supposed to be a trailer for the pre-order bonus, and something.
We had that on Sifted. I saw it.
Yeah,
today.
but it was late. It was like a day late or something. Because I didn't see what happened.
Somebody
but
explain it to
I
us.
saw Amazon apologizing for it. That's all. That's the only reason I knew about it. Okay, it was Amazon Twitch stream, and Kind of Funny was hosting it. So yeah, Amazon.
Say what?
Amazon's branching out,
Amazon was doing a live stream, and Kind of Funny was hosting it.
I guess.
I don't know what the hell's going on. Kind of funny.
Synergy, man. It's all about synergy.
It's all about money. That's what it's all about. Congram 1. Do you think games with Gold and PlayStation Plus are bad for indie games? I'm sure those of us that subscribe to these services just add them to the library and forget them at this point. With being this
That
late
ain't
in the
wrong.
cycle and having so many high-budget gaming options with not enough time to play even those. I don't think it's bad.
No.
They're bad for indie games because...
most of it is like stuff I probably wouldn't have played anyway.
Right. And I agree with you. I play hardly any of the free games I get on Xbox. I think the last time, I still collect them every month. I don't know why. I make sure at the end, in fact, I'm going to go grab my
it's free.
Xbox. But, yeah, exactly. But I'm not going to play them.
But it's free.
I know. I got to get it because it's free. It's so weird, the psychology behind it. Like,
I just got Dante's Inferno for the 360
Yeah, I'm
on
gonna
Xbox
play
Live
that.
Gold. I'm like, yeah, am I gonna look that again? No, that game's garbage, but I'm still want it for free.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Like, it's like you can't turn down something.
Yeah, you didn't lose anything.
I think a lot of times I think about, okay, when I die and I pass on my stuff to like my brother or whatever, like he'll have that if he wants to play it. I know it's completely crazy to think about, but
They're all just gonna throw your consoles out and never look at it.
well, I mean, those consoles will probably be in a landfill by then. Like, I'm just assuming my accounts will live on somehow. I don't know.
Who knows what's gonna?
I'm crazy. W. Matthew. I knew he'd get in here eventually. Given how badly both Fallout 76 and Battlefield 5 are tanking, do you think we are going? You think we are at a point where good enough isn't good enough? Monster Hunter World and Yakuza 0 were the only AAA games I bought this year. Interesting. You need to get a PS4, bro.
That is I don't know if I'd call this AAA.
Yeah, I don't know if I would either. I have been playing Warframe and Overwatch most of the year because I find most AAA games have gotten boring or generic.
Well, the fact that God of War and Spider-Man are the two best games of the year to me, and both sold like crazy, indicate that the AAA space is fine.
Well, he's saying though,
I think you just had a really crowded section here, and people, the people that make the AAA games super big hits, like those people buy like 3 games a year.
Yeah.
And like that meant that I think you are right, and that you say there's a lot of people are deciding is my shooter going to be Call of Duty or is it going to be Battlefield?
Yeah.
And normally I think that's a harder choice, but this year Battlefield got pushed out. Battlefield kind of went quiet for a while out of necessity, and Call of Duty has the Battle Royale mode out of the gate, and it wasn't even a choice anymore. I think that was where the swarms were going, was for the Battle Royale thing. And with Battlefield 5 was unable to play in that space, so they were not a factor, and that's just what's going to happen.
I think what he's getting at, though, is that games that maybe used to be called AAA and would sell millions of copies now all of a sudden aren't good enough. Mm-hmm. That there's this upper echelon or new tier of like elite games that are taking all the sales away from what would normally be considered AAA or big budget games that would do well. They're not doing as well anymore.
I can't think of a whole lot of games like that except for Battlefield. I mean, like a lot of the games that have underperformed this fall.
He said Fallout 76 was his other example.
Fallout 76 is a special example. It has nothing to do with AAA games being good or not. It has to do with the fact that you shipped a broken product nobody wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Solo. Solo underperformed because no one wanted that movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't because Star Wars is broken.
And it wasn't even really because the movie was bad either.
It was just boring.
It was just
not
whatever.
anything anybody cared about.
It was just whatever. And I think
Bad
that's
movies
really the problem.
do really well all the time.
I think that's the problem, though. A lot of these franchises are starting to turn into whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think what we're seeing that do really well are drastic reboots like God of War, or applying that elite level of quality to an IP that people already love, a la Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So I can understand what he's getting at, but if he's only playing games like Yakuza 0 and Monster Hunter World in a year that was as good as this year,
yeah.
W. Matthew, bro. Do you not have a PS4? Maybe he just has a PC.
Looks like PC.
Yeah, if that's the case, I can understand. But I would also recommend, well, you only bought 2 games this year, but normally I would recommend saving some of the money that you would spend on games that you may not get that much out of and use that to buy a PS4 so you can play the elite level stuff like God of War, Spider-Man, etc.
Yeah. I have to say, because Steam did their
The Last of Us. I mean,
Steam did their Thanksgiving sale, and they had like a game. They did the Steam Game of the Year nominees or whatever, like the Steam Awards.
Yeah,
you're supposed to nominate things. Nominating stuff for Game of the Year and like the high level stuff for in that, because you got a badge out of it. Doing that now, I had to really think hard because all the best stuff I've played this year was on console.
Yeah,
it was mostly PS4, but like
PC's getting better with the console stuff coming over.
But even like with multi-platform, I was like, I don't know. It's like in the end, I picked Subnautica.
Wow.
Which was the only PC like specific game.
I mean, I'm guessing that Monster Hunter World is winning whatever that poll is.
I don't know.
That's my guess.
Well, it's purely just to, I think it's to determine the nominees for the Steam Awards during the holiday sale. So we'll see what it turns out to be. I will say Labor of Love was a category that was like, developer that has thrown the most time and effort into keep continuing to improve the game. If No Man's Sky doesn't win that, there is no justice. Because damn, those guys just don't quit.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Someone says Kind of Funny selling out. Still no one has explained how Kind of Funny is wrapped up in the Amazon thing.
I guess they were hosting the stream with Amazon. Were they like partnered with them or something? I don't know.
Juan X Solo says Amazon has a gaming Twitter feed, which is really freaking weird, where they were hyping it up and it was a fail. They apologized before the stream started. No big deal. Seems like a non-story. Shane Jr. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Let's see. I think we've got... It was an Amazon pre-order incentive. You get a special Keyblade if you pre-order. Here's the last one from Les David. Why do you think there's no Dreamcast or Sega Saturn remakes or mini consoles? It's a pretty good question.
Yeah, well, the Saturn I can tell you because nobody played it, nobody cares. I care, but I'm the only one.
I mean, I would argue you can't really do a micro console of the Saturn because really there's like 10 really good games on it.
Well, a lot of the really good games, the code's been lost.
Yeah.
And beyond that, the Sega Saturn is extremely hard to emulate. It's only in the last couple of years that real breakthroughs have been made with emulation on Saturn games. And you're kind of up against the wall where, like, Saturn games are gross looking. Like, they're really ugly.
Yeah. They're right on the fringe of,
I
like,
say
viable
that as a
3D.
I'm a huge Saturn fan. I have 2 of them. I have a huge Saturn library, import and domestic. So, you know, not ripping on the Saturn, but the Saturn games look like dookie. And if you're going to put a Saturn title out now, you're going to need to remake that sucker. And I don't think the audience is really there for a remake of Burning Rangers as much as I would like to play it. Dreamcast, maybe not impossible, but you know,
It has probably 20 games you could
a good
put
number.
on. Yeah.
Yesterday was its 20th anniversary in Japan. It came out 20 years ago yesterday in Japan. Next year, September 9th,
That's
is
crazy
its 20th
to think about.
Yeah, next year is its 20th anniversary in America, 9/9/99.
Yep.
So that would be the time to put that out.
Absolutely.
So that could happen. There's a lot of Dreamcast stuff that's had PC versions and ports to future, you know, to PlayStation 2 and stuff. And I think you could put together a decent collection of Dreamcast games in a stupid little Dreamcast shell mini console thing.
It's
Call
just
that
Flash.
a thing. Yeah.
Flash
I mean, it would be
drive.
stuff you probably already have because most of the worthwhile Dreamcast stuff has moved forward to future consoles.
Yeah, I mean, right away. Like, a lot of the Dreamcast stuff
Yeah.
went to, like, GameCube right away. And
Well, yeah, because as soon as Sega went third party and shut that all down, they're like, we got to move some product. And so, yeah, all the Sonic Adventures went to GameCube. Jet Set Radio has been on almost everything you can imagine. You've got the Crazy Taxi's been on everything. Echo the Dolphin's been on a bunch of stuff. You know, a lot of the worthwhile Dreamcast games have lived on. You know, since then, Saturn would be the system I would love to see kind of preserved in that way, but I just don't think the interest is there.
now here's one more from Teresa.
Say, I'll pay $100 for a full remake of Dragon Force, just so you know. Like, just give me a Dragon
If
Force.
they remastered Panzer Dragoon Saga, it would be gigantic.
Saga is one of the games that the source code's lost. They'd have to remake it from the ground
They
up.
should, though. They should remake it from the ground up.
Couldn't
Because
hurt.
that needs to be preserved.
I would definitely buy a premium-priced Panzer Dragoon collection.
Absolutely, absolutely. Here's the last one. Turismo M3. Thoughts on Days Gone? I'm worried it's going to be bad. I saw Days Gone in a PlayStation commercial yesterday while I was watching Monday Night Football, I believe. And it was one of Sony's live-action commercials where they have, like, the game world and the real world stuff, and they had Days Gone in there. So, it's not canceled.
Well, we knew that.
I don't know, man.
It's about the nicest thing you can say about it.
I mean, it's starting to
There's
kind
still-
of get to that point where you're starting to wonder if there's some kind of a tragic flaw with the game where, like, it won't run or something. Like,
It's had a release date for like 8 months.
What?
February 22nd since like April, right?
Right, but it's not here yet either. There
Yeah.
also had a prior release date that came
I'm not
and
worried-
then it got pushed
Yeah,
again.
but I'm not worried about it being like non-existent or something. I'm worried about being.
Oh, I think it exists.
I'm worried about being mediocre. It looks like it's had trouble finding itself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you
So
have...
I would say I'm not going to tell you not to worry, frankly.
No, I would say do not count on Days Gone to be a great game. I think
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
agree with that.
And that way you set expectations, and that way you can be pleasantly surprised if it is. But I think as of right now, I would definitely be waving the caution flag on Days Gone.
Yeah, I feel about Days Gone much the way I feel about Just Cause 4.
I That's a
It's
good
like,
analogy.
I don't know. I'm interested. I want to give you my money. I want to buy it. I want to play it, but I don't know.
I don't think I can.
I feel like I need to know what. Some people think. First,
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. All right, so we're going to wrap it right there for GameFace 150. One last reminder, Pactor Factor questions, we're going to be asking for them starting tomorrow. I think I might stream some Red Dead online tomorrow if I actually can get in. I think tomorrow is the day where everybody who played on the first day can play. So I'm hoping that's the case. And if that is the case, it would be great if we could get a Sifted posse together and I could crew up with you guys and then we could stream it out to everybody. That would be sweet. We're also going to be doing an Ask Shane Anything this week, and we'll be asking for questions for that on our Patreon, and we'll probably put up a post on the forum on sifted.net as well, so look for that. With that, on behalf of Matt and Sam, GameFace is up and out.